Test, test, test. I was supposed to be on this. Where are we at? I was supposed to be on my starting soon, but I'm a little rusty, all right? I haven't streamed in over a month. Cut me some slack. All right, 7 o'clock on the dot. All right, welcome, welcome. So let me make sure, how's the audio? Too loud, too soft? Too nasally? Just right? I'm also trying ultra low latency. So before at my old house, my upload speeds were garbage. So I had to do normal latency. But here I have gigabit up and down. So hopefully I can do ultra low latency, be able to interact with you guys a lot quicker. So hopefully that works out. All right, seems like everything's good. Neat. Let's see who we got in here. All right, starting from the top, we got Mr. Socially Distant. Welcome. Ronker, who may or may not be here. He may be watching me from his living room TV if his fiance allowed him to. Fingers crossed that he can stick around. Of course, Mr. Allen. Who else? Who else? James, welcome. Mitch. OnlyFans? Dude, that's it, 50,000 subs. So we're halfway there, honestly. Just hit 25K subs yesterday. So halfway to OnlyFans. If you guys want to raid out OnlyFans, you know what to do. Tell your grandma. Still waiting for the petition for the hot tub stream. We actually got like a 12-foot pool, like inflatable pool that we put on our patio in our backyard. It's delightfully redneck. I love it. Who else? Prevailer. I think I said that right. Just bought a Lenovo tiny PC to replace my PowerEdge R300. I'm planning to use it for Pfsense. I like to run it raw. Yankee. Yeah, those little Lenovo SFF PCs that are designed for like just to throw in office for office workers are really good if you can pick them up secondhand, especially for Pfsense. Kyle, welcome. Jimbo Slice, welcome. Mr. Matt Sargent, there he is, welcome. Jason, welcome. Grease the Monkey, hello. What else we got? Coach Steven. Welcome, Coach Steven. I assume you coach volleyball, based on your name. Welcome. Exor, maybe? How's it going? Pretty good. First stream in a couple, definitely a month, maybe two. Been a while. But yeah, things are going good. Zenith 54, congrats, thanks. I don't remember what I said, but thank you. Louis, welcome. Louis B, appreciate you stopping by, my man. Welcome. A brand new Patreon subscriber. I appreciate you, my man. Awesome to see you stopping by. How much for toe picks? I don't know. I got to talk with the manager, see what the market is. You know, see where we can come in if we want to undercut competitor toe pick prices, or if we just want to come in aggressive. We'll see. I have to talk to my manager. The Doc, there he is. Welcome. Ken Pryor, welcome. Good evening to you as well. George Gomez or Jorge Gomez, hello. Brandon, welcome. Corey, Andrew, got a whole bunch of new faces in here. Brandon says, Kubernetes, wondering what your feeling is on the Turing Pi for learning and usage for a home lab. So I wish I could get my hands on one. They seem like very, very cool pieces of gear. For those of you that don't know what a Turing Pi is, essentially a motherboard. It's probably like around ITX size. I can't remember if it's like standard ITX or some ATX form factor or not, but you can hook up a bunch of Raspberry Pi compute modules into it. I think old 6, maybe. And I think it has support for NVIDIA Jetson boards as well. And you can just straight up throw like 6 of those in there in this tiny form factor and have a nice little cluster to spin up, which is extremely useful for practicing learning Kubernetes or any other clustering, what's the word I'm looking for, techniques. Oh, I forgot I got multi-stream on in case anyone over in Twitch land is watching. If you've been chatting at me from Twitch land, I apologize. I don't think anybody has. Let me check. Okay, no, we're good. But yeah, I have like 2 CM4 boards, I think. Maybe. But yeah, I have yet to get my hands on a Turing Pi. I would definitely make use of that, but too many other projects right now. But they're definitely cool pieces of hardware. Andrew, first member of the Discord, started watching most recently on the Tesla M40 content. I have an old R720 and dual Tesla M40s. Love that rig. Yeah, the Tesla M40, I got to figure out what to do with it. Recently, I completely organized all of my stuff. It's almost done. It's like 90% complete. But I actually went through all the stuff I have, from computers to all the way down to individual cables. Essentially dumped everything all across the floor and reorganized it into a bunch of boxes, drawers, and stuff. Nah, I'm not gonna turn the camera around. It's pretty boring. It's just a shelf with a bunch of boxes. But yeah, don't know where I was going with that. But essentially, I got my M40. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with it next. I might throw it back into my main server. But right now, it's sitting in a box. I'm looking at it right now. But it will get some use. I gotta figure out what to do with it. Nothing beats an aggressive toe pick. I can think of maybe 3 things that aggressive toe pick. Maybe 4. Mr. Keck, good day from Australia. Man, Australia, it's got to be what, at least, what time is it here? 7? So, what, like 4 a.m. tomorrow? I don't know. That's literally just a guess. Shira says, it's 2 a.m. here in Europe, so I'm going to bed, but thank you for introducing me to home server stuff. Really need to fix with backup and stuff. Good luck on the stream as well. Yeah, man, 2 a.m. You definitely should be heading to bed. But I appreciate you stopping by. Yeah, backups are a big part of home labbing. And it's one of those things that you kind of don't see coming when you're first getting into home labs, because you're so hyper-focused on setting up your first server, your first NAS, or whatever you want to set up, that once you do it, you realize the next step is to do it all over again with a backup system. So that comes at you pretty quick, but definitely something worth looking into. If you need any help, feel free to hop in the Discord, ask around. Definitely a bunch of people that can help out. How much RAM would you recommend for a simple home labber running TrueNAS, ZoneMinder, VPN, miscellaneous containers, a couple of test VMs, etc.? Thinking 32 gigs minimum, 16 for TrueNAS, 16 for everything else. Honestly, that's a really good starting point, assuming you don't have hundreds of terabytes of storage, your TrueNAS setup, then you're probably fine. It's hard to say because everybody's home labs are different, but from what you said, a basic setup, 16 should be good enough. You'd be surprised at how little RAM a lot of services actually use. But again, yeah, for a couple of VMs, some miscellaneous containers and whatnot, I think you're good to go there. Michael Bertko, hi. What's your thoughts on Pfsense router and TP-Link Omada controller / PoE switch combo for the home lab? Trying to decide between TP-Link Omada router versus Pfsense router running on an Intel N5105. Thanks. So I've used both. Currently in my main home or my main network, that runs Pfsense. It depends on a couple of things. Pfsense is going to give you usually more raw power for the money, as you can run it on any x86 based system, which you can get for relatively cheap. They sell a lot of like dedicated x86 based mini PCs that are designed to run Pfsense. You can get a lot more power in there in terms of if you want to handle just a bunch of throughput on your network, especially with VPNs. That's one route. The other route is that Pfsense is more, I don't want to use the word like difficult or anything, because every system has a learning curve. Omada is more designed to be kind of like a plug and play system. Set it up, you log into the GUI, and everything is kind of tailored for like just easily manageable. Let's just say that. It's more easily manageable than Pfsense. Pfsense can get pretty overwhelming pretty quickly until you have a good bit of experience with it. I really like Pfsense. I don't know if it's because of the feature set it brings, but I think the most part about it that I like is that it forces me to learn a lot more things about networking that I probably wouldn't have picked up if I was just using a more simplified GUI. So yeah, I mean, it really depends. If you really want to start learning more about the ins and outs of networking, I think Pfsense will do that or force you to do that. The Omada, really good piece of software. It's going to be easier, but yeah, it's going to be, it's honestly your preference. Is that a short sleeve hoodie? I don't think I've ever seen such a thing. Look, dude, it's a style, bro. Come on. What you know about style? I even have one without sleeves. I have a hoodie that has no sleeves. So I'm basically a trendsetter. But yes, to answer your question, that's exactly what this is. 10 a.m. 10 a.m. in Australia. M40 can be gamed on cloud or bare metal if used with a surrogate GPU with iGPU or an APU. Correct. Yeah, that's I can't. I feel like I've made so many videos now. I can't remember if I've done one. I did an M40 video. I don't remember if I did gaming on it with Parsec. I think I did. But yeah, you can pass it through if you're using something like Proxmox or whatever hypervisor you want to scale. Pass it directly through to a virtual machine and use the Tesla for gaming. You don't need video out because I have video out. Jeff from Craft Computing has quite a few really good videos on getting that all set up. Grim, Pfsense, if you like to tinker, you will probably outgrow that TP-Link router. I don't know if you said that after or before I went to my spiel, but I 100% agree. Yugi Man team, thoughts on TP-Link Omada multi-gig switch issues? A lot of them are being reported to die in 2 to 3 months. I have deployed personally, like, just for like friends, at least half a dozen Omada setups, and I haven't seen any issues with that. So I I I don't know if it is a widespread issue. Then obviously that sucks. I don't work for TP-Link. There's nothing I can really do, but from personal experience, I've never seen it on my end, so I can only really report from what I've personally experienced. But yeah, if that is a widespread issue, then yeah, that's definitely something to consider. Nura, should we expect a deeper dive into your Proxmox setup and what it's capable of? Nice LTT desk mat. Thank you. I got the water bottle to go with it. Yeah, I am planning to do a video series, I guess you could call it, some point before the end of the year, because I want to do an upgrade on my home lab, my entire home lab for 2022, because it's changed. Sorry, I just got a error. Please use a keyframe frequency of 4 seconds or less. I don't know, I'm getting some weird error message in the YouTube stream thing. What I was saying, so I do plan on doing a full, I did a what's in my home lab last year, I think. It was a 2021 edition. And I plan on doing an upgrade of that this year because so much has changed, like a lot. So I want to do probably 2 parts on that, going through the hardware of my home lab and then a deeper dive into the software. It might be 3 parts. I might just separate networking and have networking be its own one too. I haven't decided, because if I try to cover everything in my home lab in one video, it would be disgustingly long, just knowing how much I like to ramble about stuff. So we'll see. But to answer your question, yes, I will be going over my setups from everything I'm running: TrueNAS, Proxmox, Kubernetes, networking through Pfsense, Ubiquity, Omada, my backup server, my test server, all my containers I'm running, etc. So all that will be covered at some point. Long way of saying yes. The doc just scored 8 16 gigabyte DDR3 ECC RAM for $70. Only needs 6 sticks, but it's a decent upgrade from 24 gigs. Damn, yeah, I'd say so. What's that? 128 gigs for $70? Yeah, that's a hell of an upgrade. I don't blame you for pulling the trigger on that one. TVJ, welcome, Mr. TVJ. Thank you so much for stopping by, my man. I'm on Jeff's Patreon. Nice. Yeah, me too. Randall, why are there, I can't read, sorry. Why are there many small form factor NAS cases? I wanted to create a 2 or 4 bay, why aren't, I assume you meant why aren't there many small form factor NAS cases? I want to create a 2 or 4 bay ITX, but can't find a decent one. Thoughts, or am I just odd? No, I did something like that. I don't know if I still have the case, because I moved everything to my rack. I used to run a giant ATX as my main server, and then my backup server, I wanted a decent amount of storage, but I also wanted a small board in there. And I ended up selling what I think was a perfect case for that. I don't remember what video it might have been here, let me find it. Here, you guys can see you guys want to see my likes and dislikes. Here you go. Here's a bunch of, I think it's, what video is it? Here, let me see, so you can see what I'm looking at. I think it is. How was it this long ago? It was the one where I upgraded from. No, it's not this long ago. I just want to tell you what case it was because I think it was the perfect case. Something. Here you go. My first real server. All right, we're not. Okay. So this is what I was using. I hear myself. Did I put it in? Here we go. This is what I was using, the Pfsense Eclipse P200A, because it is a mini ITX tower and it fits exactly 4 hard drives. So definitely recommend that case. If I put a link to it. Did I really not put a link to it? Such a terrible YouTuber. Well, Pfsense Eclipse P200A. I'm sure you can find it with some Google Foo or on Amazon. So there you go. Highly recommended. Back to, yeah, okay. Michael, thoughts on Unraid versus TrueNAS scale for, I just miss a bunch of, oh, never mind, okay. All right, what did I miss? Jorge, I hope I'm saying that right. How's the Kubernetes adventure coming along? It's a roller coaster, and that's a very cliche thing to say, but it started off terrifying. I don't know how this equates to terrifying and not terrifying, but you guys get the picture. Started off pretty scary, but then I started getting the hang of it and learning some stuff. And then, you know, once you do that, you realize more stuff you need to know, so it gets scarier, start learning more, and then it's just been this up and down. But right now, kind of at a high point on it. I'm starting to spin up some custom containers, you know, getting away from just copy and pasting stuff and deploying it without kind of know what you're doing. So building my own YAML files, adjusting storage parameters in Longhorn, just learning how storage networking and containerization all kind of fit together, Kubernetes. But yeah, so far so good. I just deployed Pi-hole a couple of days ago in Kubernetes with persistent storage and Longhorn, and it's set to, or obviously it's high availability because I have 3 nodes. If one node goes down, it'll just spin it up instantly. I tested it out. It's honestly impressive how fast it is. Once a node goes down, immediately spins up a new one, and I don't lose DNS. So pretty neat. What do you use to encode your video for YouTube? I edit in Premiere. I want to get away from Premiere. I want to move to Resolve at some point. Maybe that'll be next year's New Year's resolution. But I encode in H.265, which gives me slightly better compression, slightly smaller files. Not that it matters, but yeah, H.265 is what I go with. I might switch back to H.264 just because more things are compatible with H.264 that I will mention on a future video. But yeah, H.265 through Premiere. Fragsmith, Mr. Dan, what up? I have a 4-port N5105 box coming from, or if AliExpress fixed my shipping address, fingers crossed. I've had one experience with a wrong shipping address through AliExpress, and they fixed it pretty quickly, so hoping that's the same experience for you. Do you run Home Assistant? No, I do not. I don't have that many smart home devices, to be honest. It's something I really want to get into because it's cool. I see a lot of people post all their awesome dashboards and all the cool things that Home Assistant, but I just don't have enough stuff worth putting in Home Assistant. So maybe down the road, if I can convince some brands to send me some home automation stuff, we'll get into it. At some point I will. There's other cooler things that I'm interested in. If you could go back in time, would you still buy Unify or Omada? And why Omada, LOL? I've had both. I mentioned that in my last video. I'd still go back and do Unify because, like I said, I've never used Unify before. I've deployed and used Omada before for the last 3-ish years, 2-ish years, 2 or 3 years, whatever. And I just wanted to try something new, so I went all in on Unify. Not all in, pretty in. Still running Pfsense, but I did just buy a Dream Machine Pro that I will be deploying for a test network so that I can actually get the full Unify experience to do comparisons and stuff. So, but yeah, I'd go back and do it. It's been fine so far. Their hardware lineup is amazing. The price is a little higher than what you'd pay for Omada, that's for sure. The GUI is amazing through Unify. The one knock I'd say has been stability with automatic adoption of new hardware and updates. Kind of so far, but going back in time, I'd do the same thing. Man, I couldn't get to boot with an NVMe. I had to switch to use a data SSD. That's weird. At least it's an SSD and not a hard drive. Thoughts on Unraid versus TrueNAS Scale for a home server? I used TrueNAS Scale and was very happy with performance. Disappointed with the limited number of Docker apps. Should I hold out or switch to Unraid? So I hate giving the answer like it depends, but I mean it really does on what you're looking for. Before Scale really came out in production, I would have said probably just go with Unraid because it's tried and true, it's stable. TrueNAS Scale is new-ish, but the stability problems that have plagued it initially have been resolved for the most part. They just did an update today. They just announced a major update. 23 point. I gotta look it up. But I would say if you're looking for, this is the answer I would used to give when people would ask, do you want to go with TrueNAS, meaning TrueNAS Core, or something like Unraid or Proxmox. I think Unraid is a very good all-around solution for a home server. It's not going to be the best really at everything in terms of virtualization. It is pretty good at container management. Decent at hardware management, but it does have that main feature going for it that a lot of people like, in that it doesn't run traditional RAID, Unraid. It allows you to add different capacity drives and dynamically increase your storage over time, which a lot of people like. TrueNAS is going to be more obviously NAS focused. If your main feature set is storage and you want to run ZFS, which I love ZFS, then go with that. Scale was a major upgrade going from core to Scale in terms of containerization and virtualization, being Docker on Linux based instead of FreeBSD. So that has gotten a lot better in the virtualization world. So I don't know, man. It's whatever one you like. If you're asking which one I would go personally, I would go with TrueNAS because I like it better. But if someone walked up and said I like Unraid better than TrueNAS, I'd be like, cool. It's still a good piece of software. Hey, nice to GamerCat. Welcome. Good to see you. Oh wait, I just skipped the message. Oh, what just happened? Oh God, I'm getting okay. All right, I'm gonna start rapid fire, and I'm getting y'all are chatting too quick. All right. Nice to see you. I've been looking into DN42 today. Also getting a Steam Deck Thursday from a person on Reddit. Awesome. Fingers crossed. They're not a weirdo, but they're on Reddit, so they're all weird. Just kidding. Andrew Preston, someone just sent me a 2-bay ITX. This one's 4-bay. So. Intertan, welcome. I don't know if you chatted before, but welcome to the stream, man. Jimmy Jones, there he is. Just popping in. Still can't seem to crack my issues with K3S high availability. I feel like I'm going to have to set up Pfsense just so I can put in a proper DNS entry. That's annoying, dude. DNS is always the issue. Networking. First thing to look at if you're having network issues, DNS. But yeah, hit me up on the Discord. We'll see if we can figure something out. Baby Whale, I'd like to make it into Pfsense router, but I'm just wondering smallest form factor ITX board without sacrificing much performance. It depends on what you want to go with for Pfsense. There's a lot of they're x86 boards built into tiny Intel NUC sized form factors. You can get a bunch on. There's a whole bunch on AliExpress. They're on Amazon as well for around. The good ones are around $400, but yeah, I mean, it just depends on budget and whatnot. Cool stream, thank you. I cannot read your name. I apologize. I don't even know what language that is, but thank you stopping by. Jorge, yes you are. Share because I installed on 3POS, but could not do anything and ended up with Docker Swarm. I do have to mess with Docker Swarm. Kind of skipped over that when jumping into clustering. David C, learning more to having volumes across multiple machines, cluster FS instead of a NAS. For redundancy, onboard CPU or motherboard, CPU, RAM, net and drives, and replicating distribution, geo-replication abilities. Yeah, I mean, that's what getting into Kubernetes is going to get you, right? High availability, the ability to do distributed high availability storage, whether you do that through GlusterFS or through Longhorn, completely up to you. But yeah, it's a cool undertaking. And once you get things going in Kubernetes, it's such a satisfying feeling. But once you work on Kubernetes, there's also OpenStack, the biggest piece you can probably try to configure. I'm taking it slow. TVJ, have you seen the new TrueNAS cluster service inside True Commander? I believe it's in beta. I read about it like a month ago, and I keep a list of topics or videos I want to look into in the future, and that's on there. So it's probably something I should look into. Unify seems like good stuff without the cost of enterprise stuff. Yeah, that's Unify and Omada are the two, I would say, top contenders when it comes to that networking configuration and hardware that sits between your regular consumer stuff, where you just go in and buy an out of the box mesh system or just a standard Netgear Nighthawk router. Plug it in. Nothing wrong with that. If that's all you need, go for it. But some people like to tinker and have more flexibility over their network, but they don't want to go into full enterprise gear because obviously gas and it's expensive. So Yeah, Unify and Omada, two very good options. Hardware Dynasty, welcome, man. I love Unraid, but do want to build a TrueNAS box eventually. You can have drives as you go with Unraid of varying sizes if you want. Yeah, that's a cool feature of Unraid. For sure, if you're worried about or expanding in the future, with ZFS, you don't have that type of flexibility. So Unraid does give you a pretty awesome feature. MN 9500, what's the easiest thing to deploy that will support SMB shares that use DLNA? Reusing an old piece for a friend. You could go with something like, if you're looking in terms of like the home lab space. Yeah, why can't I think of it? The freaking hypervisor you can install, and that even works on Raspberry Pi. I did a video on it. Open Media Vault. Open Media Vault is pretty basic setup, pretty easy. Designed to be lightweight, and will give you all the necessary NAS features you could want, especially with SMB. So yeah, Open Media Vault might be something to look into. Peter Coffee. Hi, from Indonesia, 7 a.m. here. Have breakfast time. Have you considered consider using HCI like TrueNAS scale? HCI like TrueNAS scale. Any pros or cons? I may be completely dumb, but I don't know what HCI stands for. Have you considered using HCI like TrueNAS scale? I mean, I've used TrueNAS scale. I have a video on it. It's an awesome piece of software. But yeah, moving on. I will get back to, I got to look up what you meant by that, or maybe I'm just dumb. Easiest NAS storage solution. If you're building it, probably Unraid. The best is ZFS, but Unraid is very simple and easy to expand. Agreed. I feel like nobody talks about Open Media Vault. Yeah, for sure. It's good because it runs natively on a Raspberry Pi, which makes for some cool NAS setups if you can get your hands on it. Fleet Master. Do you have any 3D printers, or are you looking into 3D printers? I have one. I don't know how to use it. My wife is the 3D printer person. So the extent of 3D printing that I do is I find something that I need online and I download the file and I send it to her and ask her to print it for me. So I do want to get into it more. There's a lot of things I want to get into, but I either don't have the time or other things are take a priority over that because they're just cooler. So one day. Sorry, was ordering truck parts. What did I miss? Talked about a lot of NAS stuff, a lot of networking stuff, truck parts. You're in the wrong stream, buddy. This is Nerd Central for networking gear and home lab gear, truck gear. Thought I knew you, Alan. I've been using Open Media Vault for a few months now, and I really like it. It has its drawbacks, but it works for what I'm doing, Plex, playing with Docker, etc. I do have my next video coming out. I will be reviewing this, which I keep having mixed feelings about it. So this is a QNAP. It looks like a DVD player. It's like the size of one, a console, but it's a it's designed to be like an all-in-one NAS and Media Center, because on the back you do get like USB and HDMI outputs and dual 2.5 gig or 2.5 gig networking. So it is a pretty cool piece of tech. And then this magnetic shield comes off and you have space for two 3.5 inch what do you call it, easy remove or hot swappable. I guess the drives themselves aren't hot swappable. You get the picture. Pretty cool device. I'll have a review on that coming soon. But yeah, don't know where I was going with that. Probably talking about solutions and whatnot. So, what can we do? You want to let's start poking around in my Kubernetes setup. I said I'd talk about Kubernetes, so let's jump in there. See what we got going on. So, for those that I assume you know, if you're here watching me, I recently deployed. God, that sounded pretentious. I meant it's a recent video that I put out, and I've been tweeting and talking about it a lot. That I've just deployed my first Kubernetes cluster, and I've been trying to learn a bit about it. So let's hop in. I'll kind of walk through what I have set up so far, and talk about it. Mac Telecom, what's up, man? Welcome to the stream. The Unify Master himself. Drive sleds. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Angelo, I am new to the whole home lab thing, but I have a bunch of hardware lying around, including a couple of 3900X. What kind of things could I do with them if I build out a rack? I mean, 3900X is a very solid CPU for basically any home lab setup, unless you're looking to do some really hardcore stuff. But starting out, you're perfectly good with a 3900X. You're not going to get ECC support unless you go with, I think there's some ASRock boards that support ECC RAM with Ryzen chips. But for just starting out, a 3900X is going to be probably more than you'll need for sure. You can always expand down the line, but I have said many times on this channel, if you're just getting started in home labbing, don't compare, someone who has a giant server rack with a dedicated air condition and multiple servers and hundreds of terabytes of data and thinking, oh my God, I have to do that if I want to get into home labbing. You don't. You can literally take a Raspberry Pi and start your home lab with that. You don't need a lot, especially if you're gonna do containerization with Docker. You can deploy a whole bunch of stuff on some very low power hardware. But yeah, 3900X, more than enough. So what do you think is better, multiple lag 1 gigabit link or a single 10 gigabit link for switch to servers? I've never really dabbled in lag. I've always just used a single 10 gigabit setup. Having multiple connections running is cool, especially for redundancy if you set it up that way. But personally, I haven't run lag in my setups. I either just go 10 gig or just stick with a single gigabit connection. Probably something I should look into though. Castan? If I said that right. I love your Kubernetes series. How about optimizing Nextcloud speeds for home use? Optimizing Nextcloud speeds for home use. I've never really thought about using, if you mean using Nextcloud as like a NAS solution, a NAS interface for LAN, never really considered doing that. It's mainly going to come down to what your storage solution is. I'm sure there's a lot more that goes into the optimization, settings, your processing power, compression levels, and whatnot. But I haven't really given too much thought about optimization of it. So sorry for the lame answer. So what's your current verdict based on your journey thus far? Is Kubernetes benefit worth the complexity? All right. Let's walk through what I have set up, and I'll hopefully explain that as I'm doing. So I have I don't have kube control set up on here, or kubectl, kubectl, call it kube control. Fight me. So we'll just dive into Rancher so we can see it. I was going to walk through stuff with kube control just because it's cool. You get a command line interface. You can install it and move the configuration file over to any local machine and be able to interact with your cluster using the command line from pretty cool. But let's dive into my cluster. So here it is, Rancher. If you don't know, you probably know what Rancher is, but Rancher, at the highest level, they're a company. They do a whole bunch of stuff for Kubernetes, not just like an interface. They're actually the creators of K3s, distribution of Kubernetes. It's lightweight, and that's what I'm running here. But Rancher, I've heard some people complain about it, and I had my struggles with it initially. If you watch the video, I talked about it. But once it's going, it's really nice to be able to poke around and interact with cluster in a GUI. And, yeah, it's cool to not use a GUI, to be able to fly through the CLI and do everything. Feel like a hacker, man. But sometimes you just want a GUI, especially in clustering. You have all these resources, deployment, storage, and it's just nice to be able to see things directly in front of you and be able to interact with them. So if we look at my nodes, I have 3 nodes. Those are my 3 Intel NUCs. Got them for $50 each. Well worth the investment. I did put a little bit into upgrading them because they did come with only 4 gigs of RAM. So I upgraded each of them to 16 gigs. And not sure. I guess if we click on one, you can see what's running on it, what pods are running on it, information about it. So we are running Ubuntu 2204. Some basic stuff here, nothing crazy. I don't think I'm running any taints on it, no. Cluster members, that is, I think workload, all names. Where's the thing that just shows I want to see my, right here, right in the front. So you can see I have 12 cores. 12 cores usable, so each 12 threads. Each system has dual core 4 threads. And you can see we have roughly almost 48 gigs of RAM, so 12, 16 per. So that's the full extent of my Kubernetes cluster. Those are the resources I have. And I also added 4 terabyte external hard drives to each of them. So we do have a good bit of storage to play around with too. It is USB 3.0 connected, but this isn't my end game cluster. This is for practicing and moving over stuff and playing around with. And then once I get comfortable enough with Kubernetes, I plan on getting 2 dedicated Kubernetes servers to dedicate just to running Kubernetes high availability. So my current verdict based on the journey thus far is the benefit worth the complexity. I would say for the average person, no, absolutely not. If you are getting into home labbing and you want to spin up some stuff, you want to spin up Pi-hole, you want to spin up Nextcloud, a WordPress site, I don't know, the basic things the basic things you start off with home labbing. Do not even think about getting into Kubernetes. It is not something you need at all for the most part. It's more designed to be a high availability system. It's designed to be a scaling system. And for most home lab users, that is not something you need. That's not something I even need at all. But I run a tech YouTube channel. I like tech. So that's why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this because it's necessary. It's definitely not necessary. I don't need a high availability setup in my house. No one cares if my self-hosted stuff that I run is down. It's not that big of a deal. So I don't need it, but it is definitely a cool undertaking because just how it works and what it does is so cool once you get things up and running. Just to have it where not only are your services and everything high availability, but if you set up Longhorn and have high availability block storage, well, it's just so cool to think about. I don't know. I'm just a freaking nerd, but yeah, it's for me, it's been worth it just because I like learning this stuff and I like sharing what I learn with you guys. But for the average person, 100%, I would say no. Fragsmith in, my ISP Rogers quietly increased my upload speed from 9 megabit to almost 90 megabit. That's a rarity. They just straight up upgraded you. That's awesome. Especially freaking 9 to 90. That is awesome. Yeah. Gaston, you're the best, man. Thanks. I appreciate that, man. Thank you for stopping by. Spicy Boy, any plans for adding intrusion detection, honeypot alerts? Maybe. Maybe one step at a time. I've had one issue with intrusion in my network. I got a stupid crypto worm because when I was testing out some so 2 things I did wrong. My services that I was deploying externally through Cloudflare using my domain, I had them hosted on my main VLAN, which is a big no-no. Don't do that. Second of all, I exposed Guacamole, which is a service that you essentially save all your SSH connections and stuff to your other services. I was testing something and I left it exposed, and someone got in through that and got access to my main server and installed a worm. But that was taken care of. It was just annoying. But yeah, do not, if you're exposing services to the outside world, host those services on their own specific VLAN. That way, in the event that someone does get in, they can't get to your critical information or that's hosted in your or any other VLAN. So I have an external VLAN that my entire Kubernetes cluster is hosted in. That has no access to any other VLANs. My main VLAN can access it, but from that VLAN, it can't get out. So lesson learned, whoopsie daisy. Don't do what I did. Dionysus. I run K3S directly without Rancher. I wonder if it's worth using that nice UI. I like it. I mean, it was a pain to get set up. I ran into some issues, some of them user error, but I am hosting my document website. This is hosted directly on my K3S cluster. And I have this walkthrough that I typed up that kind of went through all the steps I took to get my entire setup up and running. So if this can be of any help to anybody, check it out. We have a link, site, chat and chat. Sign into chat. Sign in. I'm freaking streaming. That's my website. I plan on adding more stuff. You can see, obviously, it's still in beta. But I plan moving forward is to, not necessarily just for my videos, but for projects that I'm working on, I will have documentation for those that I can link to in a more sophisticated way other than like a Google Docs or something. So, yeah, this is... Go check that out. Don't know where I was going with that. Suggest if you're any fancy or grass some start off IoT, check out Teapot, an all-in-one honeypot. Interesting. All right. David C suggests starting with getting used to containers and just Docker before jumping into. Yeah, 100%. If you're I'll tell you the progression I made, because I haven't been doing home labbing for a long time. It's something I've been doing since I was like a teenager, and I've always been into tech and PCs and stuff, but only recently did I start getting into home labbing. When I first created my YouTube channel 2 years ago, it wasn't home labbing at all. It was just tech stuff. So my journey basically went from, I like computers, I like building PCs, gaming PCs, stuff like that. And for some reason, I can't remember what made me want to do it, but I installed the Oracle virtual machine, VirtualBox. I installed VirtualBox on Windows, and that was my first forte into getting into home labbing, virtualization. Installing VirtualBox in Windows and spinning up some different Linux virtual machines and running some services directly in those virtual machines. From there, I moved into running Proxmox, because everyone was saying, oh, run a real hypervisor. Why are you virtualizing within Windows using VirtualBox? Blah, blah, blah. I got a real hypervisor. Use Proxmox. So I got into Proxmox and then started getting into containerization and Docker. And then from there, it just kind of took off, because once you start learning the ins and outs of containerization, that basically opens up the world to pretty much anything you want to do in terms of home labbing. It's all going to usually boil down to running Docker containers for the most part. So, Cameron, I would suggest getting 3 dedicated Kubernetes nodes, since you need N+. Yeah. So the plan was what I meant to say was 2 dedicated worker nodes, and then run virtualization, 2 dedicated servers with virtualized nodes on those servers. So not 2 nodes per se, 2 physical servers with virtualized nodes on each. Yeah, someone who runs K3S in their home lab, it's nice if you already are comfortable with it, but for someone starting out, it could be a pain to learn. Yeah, that should not be on your radar as a beginner. Guacamole question mark? Yeah, man, it's delicious. What do you recommend using a Nook for? I have Proxmox and Pi-hole on my server. I'm using 3 of them for Kubernetes. I don't know. A lot of people use them for Pfsense box or OpenSense firewall boxes. So yeah, I don't know. They're low power usually, so they're really good for clustering. So you can spin up a couple of them without worrying about cranking up your electric bill. Usually powerful enough to run a firewall. You know, you're not running a enterprise level firewall or anything. How did you detect the crypto malware you touched upon? CPU usage? Yep. I first noticed it when I was transferring files to TrueNAS, because TrueNAS is hosted on my main server, virtualized, and it was moving. It was so slow, and I was like, so I went to TrueNAS, poked around in TrueNAS, couldn't find anything, no weird log errors. Then I went into my Proxmox and noticed my CPU completely pinned. What the hell is going on? So I did some digging, looked at the services, CPU usage, and obviously found a service called it was mining Monero. So it was a Monero CPU miner. And yeah, I got hit. So just uninstalled it, got rid of all the files associated with it, and it was fine. I would suggest 3 physical nodes. A good test point is kill one of the nodes and realize the cluster grinds to a halt because none of the nodes can who is alive. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, there shouldn't be any real difference between 2 physical nodes and 3 physical nodes if you're virtualizing, or 2 physical servers versus 3 physical servers if you're virtualizing the nodes. So the plan is to probably have, we'll see, but each server is probably going to have, I don't know, 3 server nodes and 3 worker nodes, and a couple of ones dedicated just for storage. Longhorn, I don't know. But we'll see. We'll see. That's not any time in the future. It might be. We'll see. My impulse control. What do you do for your day job? Network engineer. No, I am an IT, but I do application support and development. So it's a mixture between supporting apps that either we've created internally or that were created by vendors that we support. A lot of the stuff is either Java or .NET, some Python. We do have some Kubernetes deployed services, but I am not on those. I'm not the SME on those projects, so I don't really, ironically. But I was telling my boss that I was getting into Kubernetes like for fun. It's like the weirdest thing to say. Why would you ever get into that for fun? So he's like, all right, well, you can come sit on the calls for the Kubernetes project so that they can use my 2 weeks of Kubernetes knowledge. But yeah, and my development work is mostly just .NET, so nothing too crazy. So it's usually full stack stuff because we're a smaller group. A lot of independent work, so dealing with building out databases, whether that's Oracle or MS SQL, and then doing the entire front end. We have pretty good flexibility to just do whatever we want in terms of stack. but we stick to .NET because a lot of the stuff we have is already in .NET and easier to continue off of what you've already built. And it makes it easier for other people in the group to support if something happens. If I go off and do some Ruby app with like some type of R interface and some obscure JavaScript front end stuff, they're gonna be like, why? Yeah, I got HR called on me. You doing K3S for fun? Like one of those, you're gonna have to check on this. Something's a little wrong with it. I had to go see HR about that. Yeah, it's a voting system, so if you lose majority, right? But if you have an odd amount of virtualized nodes on those servers and one goes down, you still have an odd amount, so you should still be good. If you lose a physical server, if you're running nodes, if you're running each physical server as its own node, then yes, 100%, you'd have to go with 3 nodes. But I see what you're saying. 2 weeks is better than 0. Very true. Where was I? So yeah, this is my setup. I'm not running too much on it right now. I'm running, go into, look at the deployments we have running. So Cert Manager for exposing, if you're exposing your stuff through Ingress with like traffic, setting it all up with Cert Manager to handle SSL. Convenient. It does everything in the back end. You really don't have to do anything. Awesome. Just some stuff that ships with Rancher, K3S in general. Spun up a Heimdall instance to practice with. I'm not actually using that yet. Longhorn, I like it so far. A lot of people have reached out to me though and said that Gluster FS is better, faster than Longhorn. I'll have to do some testing, but initially I do like Longhorn, like the ease of setup and the flexibility of the different file systems you can use or file structures, different storage classes and whatnot you can set up directly with Longhorn. I like it so far, but I haven't tried anything else. Metal LB for load balancing. Nextcloud, I have Nextcloud set up pretty neat through Kubernetes and Longhorn. My site that I just showed you is hosted in well and traffic. So again, we don't have too much running. Like I said, it's a slow process. I didn't just dump everything over here and tell it to go. Oh yeah, also Pi-hole. Even in virtual, you need an odd number of nodes. Think about when you shut down on one node for maintenance. How would it determine who is the master? Just trying to be helpful as I run it myself. Yeah, no, you could be right. Like I said, I'm 2 weeks into this. Just from my perspective, it makes sense. Virtual versus physical. If you have 2 identical nodes, 2 identical physical servers, each with odd number of virtualized nodes. I don't know, it just works in my head. Maybe not. Maybe I'll end up doing it one day and then come back and say, Cameron was right, I'm an idiot. Not sure about K3S quorum, but I know firsthand that Proxmox quorum can be a real pain in the ass if you don't have enough to start, like after a power outage. Yeah, especially if you're running etcd. I know etcd requires an odd number of nodes for quorum with your server nodes in K3S. So I'll have to look into it. But yeah, if you I get it. This is why, especially with high availability, things get hairy. So, trial and error. I've been wrong before in my life. Trust me. Cool thing about in Rancher too is they have their little app store that makes it pretty easy to deploy and spin up certain deployments. So, you don't have to do it this way. You can do it through, their charts. You can do it through Helm for the most part. A lot of major services can be installed using Helm, which is Kubernetes, like a Kubernetes package manager. Like in Linux, if you are in Debian, do your apt install, whatever. It's kind of like that. Helm install, whatever, and it'll deploy it to your cluster. Then you can also do it the old-fashioned way with creating your own YAML files and deploying it that way. So there's multiple ways of getting stuff installed to your cluster. The only one I've done through the App Store is Longhorn, just because I figured it would work really well because the Rancher people also developed Longhorn. So if anything's going to install easily in Rancher, it should be Longhorn. So yeah, I just clicked install. It did all the default settings. It worked. We can go take a look at my Longhorn setup. So here you can see is there any big difference between K3s versus Docker? Yeah, so Kubernetes, K3s, when you hear people say K3s, they're essentially meaning Kubernetes. A lightweight deployment of Kubernetes, but K3s is Kubernetes. Yes, K3s is Kubernetes that you can run Docker images through. There's a lot more features. I feel like when I was first introduced to Docker years ago, I don't know what came first, right? Was Docker Swarm available before Kubernetes was a thing? Because I remember going to like a Kubernetes like basics class for work. And they were essentially like, yeah, if you're running Docker, you're running like Kubernetes, you have to. So I don't remember around that time if Docker Swarm was a thing. It could have been, or maybe they were just Kubernetes shills. But yeah, Docker is like we've said before in the stream, if you're going to get into progression throughout, learning home lab stuff, Docker is what you want to get into first. Because basics of organization without all the high availability overhead and all the other stuff that comes with Kubernetes that you don't necessarily need first. Docker came for Kubernetes, then Docker Swarm. Okay. That makes sense then. Because I haven't tried Docker Swarm yet. I mean, it's something I should do. Rancher versus Portainer. I had a feeling that question was going to come up. And I do plan on making content about that. As of right now, so Rancher is designed to only run on Kubernetes. And that's fine. I mean, that's what they want it to do. Portainer runs, native Docker, Docker Compose, Docker Swarm, and as of recently, Kubernetes. So within Kubernetes, like managing your cluster. So they're different in that regards, and that Portainer, I think, is designed to be more all-encompassing. All I've ever used it for was managing just a local Docker instance and spinning up some stuff with Docker Compose. That's how all my containers are essentially running. Not all of them, but a lot of them. But in terms of Portainer versus Rancher, I don't have enough use with Rancher yet to make an accurate kind of judgment call on that. But I think they're just so different too that it's hard to do something like that. I also haven't tried Kubernetes with Portainer yet, so maybe that'll give it a more apples to apples comparison when I eventually try that. I don't know. I like them both. Portainer is much easier. Obviously, if you're doing it with a local Docker instance, having it manage a single Docker instance is a lot easier to manage than a Kubernetes cluster. But again, different. They're kind of different from that regard. So I like Portainer though. I use it in production for my stuff. Nigel Kilby, what can I do for you to buy me a new setup? You're gonna, depending on what kind of setup, you're gonna have to click one of the links below and donate. The amount that you want me to buy for you with 10% interest. And if you do that, then yeah, I'll buy you a system for sure. And shipping. Looking forward to that video. Yeah, I have so many videos that I want to do coming soon. The two that are coming out that I'm hoping to get filmed by the end of this weekend. The video about the QNAP server, the little silent all-in-one server, that I should get filmed before the weekend. And then I'm doing my part 2 of my Omada setup. I went over the hardware for the little short stack Omada setup, and now I want to go over what to do to get it set up, to get all the necessary features out of it. Once you plug it in, setting up your VPN, firewall rules, DNS stuff, the basics to get you up and running. So that video is coming out, and then I just have a list of things that I want to get into. And it's, have you guys ever been in that situation, whether it was like with school or with work, where you have so much to do that you end up not doing any of it? Like you just go take a nap. Like I would get home from school or from college or whatever. If I had like tests the next day and a crap ton of homework, I'd be like, well, this is too much. I'm just going to not do any of it. Wait until the last minute. But if I had like one test or like, one assignment, I'll just get home and knock it out. I feel like that's what I'm going through with all these projects that I have. I have a giant list on my phone. So many I want to do that I get lazy sometimes. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's not an actual problem. Don't take that as me actually complaining. That's kind of a half joke. About to smack that chargeback button. Sneaky. Sneaky. I'm watching you, Nigel. Joshua, just saying hi. Recently found your YouTube channel. Enjoying it so far. Thanks, man. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate that. Welcome to the stream. I used to do streams like once a week. But real life things started coming up. We moved into a new house, got married, and went on a honeymoon all in and sold our old house all within like a month and a half, 2 months. And it's been hectic, but right now we're good. Everything's kind of stable for the most part. So I should be back on hopefully a more reasonable stream schedule. Because I do like doing these streams. I do like interacting with you guys live and being able to talk with you, and it's just fun to do. So Yeah, I really want to see that whole firewall part of Omada set up. I feel like there aren't enough guides on good security for your network for people that are just learning all. Yeah, big thing because one of my coworkers reached out to me because seeing the channel and he kind of follows it. And he was asking me about networking stuff. And I was telling him, I mean, he's not a big tech guy. So I was explaining to him, he was asking, like, what's the difference between, because he saw my video the other day, like, well, what's the difference of doing like Omada versus, because he just bought a TP-Link like mesh setup. He's like, well, what's the difference there? Like, what? I don't understand. Why would you buy like a setup like this? I don't get it. And it's fair because a lot of people, when it comes to networking, especially if you're not super tech savvy or into this kind of stuff, you just go and you buy, for the most part, you buy an all-in-one router, firewall, access point, and throw it in your closet and call it a day. And then you see people in their house with 3, 4 switches, dedicated firewall, multiple access points, and you're like, what's the purpose of all this? So I was explaining to him basically that a lot of people nowadays, especially when it comes to, well, let me backtrack. So I said in the video, the line has been blurred a bit recently between consumer network gear and enterprise network gear, especially Unify and Omada lineups, where you get these kind of enterprise features without having to pay enterprise prices. A lot of people like that because it opens up the world to not only learning more about your network and having more customizability over it, but just sure. And I mentioned to him, one of the big things, having dedicated VLANs, a very, I'm not going to say easy way to have some basic security in your network, but it's a very simple way comparative to, other ways, and essentially not doing anything as well. These Omada and Unify SDNs and network controllers just allow that to be so much easier than it used to be. And I told him about VLANs. He really didn't understand. Like, so when you have all your stuff connected to your network, that means all of your devices can talk to each other. So if you're working from home, your work computer, your main computer with all your personal files on it, your third-party Chinese whatever brand security system, doorbell, whatever you bought on the same network, meaning that if that gets hacked, some security breach, someone gets in through that, they have access to everything on your network. And I was explaining that VLANs are a way to segregate these things. So you have main network, and then for all the stuff that doesn't really need to be connected to it, you can have like guest one. You can break it down into as many ones as you want. You can have one for IoT devices. You can have one for guests. You have your main one. You can have one for kids, whatever. So, I was kind of explaining that to him, and it kind of clicked with him. So that's what I was getting at and what I was trying to get across with the Omada setup. I didn't want to go too heavy into it, and I don't want it to be too confusing because I don't want to steer people away from things. Basic network security and learning these out of reach and intimidating thing. And I think Unify and Omada do a really good job of bridging people into certain enterprise features. So I don't even remember what question I was answering or what I was even talking about or why I got on that. I just want to make sure I don't leave open doors when I'm doing IoT stuff and messing with my server. Like if you have your server, which has a container running Pi-hole on a VLAN, how do you make sure the router can still the router can still get DNS from it. So there's ways of, so that'll be like setting up through your firewalls where you can have, where you can have different firewall rules between VLANs. And I said earlier in the stream, I remember if, I don't know if you were around when I was talking about my Kubernetes cluster is hosted in, here, I can give you an example. So if I do this, so we're on my main system right now. I think it's in my main, yeah, so this is my main network. I'm on a 10.0.1 subnet. This is my main VLAN. If we go to my Kubernetes, one of my nodes, which you can tell is in a very different subnet, 40. So this is in, you can see a completely different subnet, 192.168.40.91. And based on my firewall rules, I should be able to, let me, probably can't see. So based on my firewall rules, I should be able to ping that node. Okay, so we can ping my external VLAN, that Kubernetes, that my nodes are hosted on. But if I try to ping back, are we on 1.23? Doesn't let me. That's a firewall rule that lets me get to a specific VLAN from mine, so I don't have to worry about like, oh, if I deploy something in an entirely other VLAN, for my main computers, I'm not going to be able to interact with it. My firewall is letting outgoing packets, connections get to it, but there's a firewall rule in Pfsense that says if you're coming from that VLAN, sorry, you can't get back. Does that make sense? I hope that made sense. Yeah, also, that was a long way around. Like if your router, in your router, you can specify what DNS servers you want to run. And obviously, point it to your Pi-hole. But time to remember about VLAN, or thing to remember about VLANs is that switches handle traffic between devices on the same VLAN, but the firewall handles traffic between different VLANs via rules and routing. Right, so your firewall is going to be what lets you control traffic between networks. And depending on which switches you go with, you have smart switches and whatnot that can handle traffic between them. But yeah, for the most part, your firewall is going to be the brains of that and what's going to allow communication. Each VLAN, depending on your firewall rules. Could you please talk a little bit about Longhorn? Like, what is block storage? Why not use NFS share? So, when you set up a volume on Longhorn, you can have it use iSCSI or an internal block device, and the difference between, I guess let me start over. The main reason you'd want to run Longhorn versus using an NFS share is that Longhorn itself is going to allow redundancy of your volumes versus if you do an NFS share, you're probably going to host that on your NAS somewhere. And if your NAS goes down, all of your storage is gone. If you're using just simple NFS shares, NAS. And that may be an option for you. I mean, it's not like, things go down, it happens. It's not like everything in the world needs to be high availability, especially when it comes to home. So that's definitely an option. Just go straight up with an NFS share. But, the idea behind Longhorn was cool because if we poke around in here, like, for example, let's take a look at, this is my Pi-hole persistent volume. If I click on that, you can see I have two replicas of it. You can see there's one version of it on my Cube 3 node and one version of it on my Cube 1 node. So if Cube 1 goes down, this goes completely offline. I still have a redundant level of storage that my pods communicate with, and it'll just spin that up on another node instead. So I'll always have kind of two replicas available for this storage, which is really cool to have, especially when you're talking about wanting to do high availability, stuff like that. So, yeah, I like it. I think it's cool. People say it's not the fastest thing ever, but, for startup or for starters, especially where I'm at 2 weeks into Kubernetes, I think it's pretty legit. Yeah, unless you have a layer 4. Can you get bunghole in cluster on a VLAN? Well, I don't know what that is. Bunghole in a cluster on a... Never heard of it? Maybe. I've been thinking for my setup, grabbing some old Cisco 3750G switches, replacing my main layer 2 switch. I don't have any experience with like the Cisco network infrastructure or any other hardware really. I know a lot of people get them like secondhand. They come from like businesses and stuff. A lot of their old enterprise level hardware, a lot of people pick those up and mess around with them, repurpose them, but I personally haven't done that. I speak to Cisco stuff. Everything in the world has to be high availability. I don't know if you're quoting me there, but I said everything in the world doesn't have to be high availability. But it is cool, the concept of it, and being able to host it in your home lab. But like I said, getting started out, you don't, it's not something you should really be concerned about right out of the gate. It just introduces so much unnecessary complexity to your system that will get in the way of learning the fundamental basics. Because if you're dealing with spending weeks trying to set up a Kubernetes cluster and dealing with, issues that come up with just maintaining a Kubernetes cluster, you're going to pass up all the basics when it comes to just containerization, networking, and Docker that you're going to take you even longer. So yeah, definitely I would push that out. Holio, I couldn't get Pi-hole to work as a cluster at all. Where did you point the DNS devices? So Pi-hole works well in K3S, and my devices, I'm using DNS forwarding in Pfsense and forwarding that to my here's when I log in. This is gonna show my public IP, so let's not do that. Here, you guys can, all right, so Pfsense, I have my main DNS server as this is my Pi-hole DNS, my Pi-hole IP. So this is just taking everything, because by default, all my devices are going to get DNS from Pfsense, and then Pfsense turn around and forward that to Pi-hole, and Pi-hole is going to do all of its magic. I haven't set it up. I haven't set up recursive DNS on it. I don't know if I want to do that. I've had experience with Unbound, so I'm perfectly fine with just using DNS mask and doing DNS forwarding to like Cloudflare or Google. Some people really like recursive DNS and having it be like that fast and stuff, but I've just had hit or miss experiences. So DNS forwarding is perfectly fine for me. I let Pi-hole do all of its ad blocking, and it seems to be working pretty well. I have a secondary Cloudflare DNS set up in here, so that if for some reason Pi-hole does go down, it'll obviously move to Cloudflare's 1.1.1 DNS. So is it just me or the audio keeps cutting off? I haven't seen anybody complain about it. I hope my audio is not cutting out. Do you have any multi-cloud setup? AWS, GCP, Azure? No. That's I said it earlier. I have my long list of things to get into, my projects. One of them is getting into cloud computing. I have dabbled in AWS and I hated it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's extremely intimidating and overwhelming. I messed around with some stuff and quickly got overwhelmed. Tried to delete things. Couldn't find where a lot of the stuff was hosting. They were charging me like 50 cents a month, and I couldn't find where the stuff was hosted, some database that I left up. I had to like chat with somebody in Amazon. I'm like, hey, I'm an idiot. I can't find why you're charging me 50 cents. Can you please just turn it off? But I do want to get into it. I know it's a lot of people use it. A lot of major companies, businesses rely on AWS, and it's a thing, and it's awesome. I know that. Trust me. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying when I jumped into it as a novice, it was intimidating. So I've kind of stayed away from it up until now. I do want to get into, probably the next step is going to be to get some type of VPS set up with Linode or something, so I can stick my foot back into the cloud computing waters, and probably have some type of load balancing or failover in the event that my home network is down. I can have a cloud load balancer that'll just redirect to some cloud services I can spin up. So I don't know, but yeah, no real experience with that yet. I'm about to install VMware as my host to run all my servers, mainly to help learn the software for my current job. I wanted to get into VMware, ESXi, some other things. I dabbled in it. I think I was supposed to do a live stream, but that fell through, and I was messing with it, and I just didn't like it, so I sacked it off. Who is that? Pav. Thank you so much for the donation, man. Love your content and humor. Keep it up. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your donation and kind words. That's awesome. Thank you, Mr. Pav. We're talking about. Audio does cut out from time to time. All right, hold on. I think I know what that is. I have a noise gate. Let me raise the that's okay. Maybe that's better. I had a noise gate thing so that if like little stuff happened when I was talking or when I wasn't talking, it wouldn't get picked up by the mic. So maybe that's what was causing the dropouts. We'll see. If it keeps happening, just let me know. I'll turn the noise gate completely off. Pi-hole versus PF Blocker NG. I installed PF Blocker NG for like a couple of hours, and it was doing some wonky shit with Unbound. So I got rid of it. I could have been using it wrong. Could have had weird setups, but I didn't like it. Pi-hole I've been pretty happy with. It does occasionally block some, like if you're scrolling through Twitter or something, you get an ad that you actually want to click on, or a link that has like tracking built into it. It kind of doesn't like that, but I mean, so far I've liked Pi-hole. We'll see. I've only been running it for like a couple of days so far. Can I ask you a question about TrueNAS Scale? Yeah, go ahead. Robert, AWS is the devil, full stop. And they just charge you out of the blue. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like I said, I hated my experience with AWS, but I'm also aware that just because I don't like something and I didn't have a good experience with it, that doesn't mean that it's not a useful piece of software and that a lot of people don't use it. So, yeah, I mean, there's two sides of the coin, right? Where in Texas are you? Houston. Houston, Texas. Suppose instead of Unbound, could set up a bind DNS server for the recursive stuff as well as local zone if applicable. Yeah, so that's what Pi-hole essentially is doing. And you can set it up recursive with Pi-hole, but you can do that within Pfsense as well. You can turn on the DNS resolver within Pfsense, but I like the flexibility of Pi-hole. There's just more to it than I think Pfsense gives you. I'm about to install, I'm going backwards. Oracle Cloud for the win. Oh wait, what did you say? Is this your full-time job? No, it is not. Oh wait, I skipped some questions. Sorry. The node is not cloud as service. Huh? On TrueNAS Scale, it says dev SDC is offline and has uncorrectable sectors, and it warns me of this on alerts, but under zpool status in shell, all the drives are healthy and online. The alerts are telling you where is it saying that SDC is offline? If it's offline, then it shouldn't show in your zpool status as being a healthy drive. Unless there's like, no, there wouldn't be two partitions on one drive. That's strange. Is this your full-time job? No, definitely not. I don't make nearly enough money for this to be my full-time job. I work in IT doing application support and development. So my job is kind of like this-ish in a very roundabout way. Something that I had to learn the hard way many times of starting over. Start small, then expand. As you become comfortable, I dove in deep end at first. Documentation is key also. I don't know if I missed if you're referring to Kubernetes. Yeah, that is something I stressed in my week to learn Kubernetes video, is that um, I'm guilty of it myself. I'll admit it, where I see something cool that either I find online or some YouTuber has posted or something Techno Tim did, and I'm like, damn, that looks dope. I want to do that. So instead of actually learning, I just go and copy and paste things because I'm so eager to just get it up and running. And most of the time it works. I'm successful. I have it running, but then I didn't learn anything. So, which for some people, that doesn't matter. Some people don't really care about learning it. They just want to get things set up and go about their merry way, and that's perfectly fine. But I like to learn things. So it's a double-edged sword where I'm happy that I got this thing set up, but then I'm like, that was kind of too easy, and I didn't really learn anything. So when my suggestion or my advice that I learned through my week to learn Kubernetes was, like you said, start slow, learn the basics. Don't try to dive in, read some giant guide. Like I have a guide on here about everything I did. I would strongly suggest not to just walk through this and just copy and paste things. I would at least read through what I'm doing. They're very, very minimal explanations, but as a reference tool, I kind of put in what I was thinking when I was doing this and kind of steps I took. But I would learn the basics. Of course, you'd have to have an understanding of what containerization really is and how Docker works. That's a good prerequisite. But getting into Kubernetes, learning what the different terms are, like a node, and specifically a server node, or an agent node, a worker node, what taints are, what etcd is. Learn what these terms are, because that's going to be the foundation of your cluster. And then once you get into your cluster, you're going to find more terms like deployments, services, ingress, load balancing, persistent volume claims, a whole bunch of things that if you're just copy and pasting YAML files and getting things spun up, you're not going to learn anything. Something's going to break. It's going to say something like persistent volume claim not mounted to persistent volume on, or something with your incorrect storage class, and you're just going to be like, what does that even mean? So, there's one way to do it. You can go about that route, and I've certainly done it to where I just went balls deep, and when shit hit the fan, I just learned as I went. But I wouldn't suggest that with Kubernetes, because it gets frustrating very fast if you do it that way. Do you have any backup servers locally? Yes, I have a backup server running Proxmox in my rack. I am hoping to get a remote backup server set up soon. I'm waiting to see if Western Digital, I reached out to them like months ago, probably like 4 or 5 months ago, and explained to them that I want to do a server giveaway for 20,000 subs if they wanted to help out and send me some drives that I could put in the system. And they never responded. And then like 2 days after I posted the video, they got back to me and were like, hey, we got some drives laying around. You need them? I was like, well, shit, dude, I already put the thing together, filmed the video, and posted it. So no, I don't need them for that, but I do plan on building a backup server if you guys want to send some over for that. And again, I haven't heard from them, so I assume they don't want to, or they're going to hit me up in like 4 months. So, but yeah, I will be setting up a remote backup server soon. I clicked your first video because you looked like Neil Stevenson, but stayed because your content is really good. I've now spent way too much on networking gear. Thank you. Hopefully the networking gear is worth it. I've been there, done that. Trust me. Spent way too much on certain things. I also don't know who Neil Stevenson is. Neil Steven. I can see it. Like an older version of me. Yep. Yeah, I can see it. I can see it. He's got the gray, and he's got a nice beard, dude. He's got like the goatee thing going. I got the full beard. But yeah, I see it. I see it. We use Azure at work. It's like AWS's weird cousin. I've oddly heard a very similar comparison before. Magical Monkey, yes, it's saying under alerts in TrueNAS, but in the shell, it's online. I'm just confused why TrueNAS is telling me it's offline with uncorrectable sectors. And if you look in like your smart results from your smart tests, does it show anything on that drive at all? Like any issues from any recent smart tests? Do you have any Web3 stuff going on? I do not. I would be hard pressed to explain to you what Web3 even is without looking like a jackass. So I'll just mosey on past that. Kubernetes is not one of those things which can just set up and forget, as the famous joke goes. H in the word Kubernetes stands for happiness. Oh, H in the word Kubernetes stands for happiness. Yeah, there's no H in Kubernetes. I get it. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I made a joke today on Twitter. Someone said something like, "Oh, Techno Tim posted about his 100 days of home lab, what he did today with he did something in his Kubernetes cluster with Longhorn." I was like, "Yeah, I spent like a couple hours last night in my Kubernetes cluster with Longhorn, poking around and learning stuff." And someone commented, "Yeah, I just use VMs, none of that Kubernetes stuff." And I was like, well, yeah, if you just do VMs, then where are you going to get your crippling anxiety that comes with managing a Kubernetes cluster? And that was kind of a half joke because, yeah, like you said, it's not something that you can kind of just spin up. Oh, I'm going to spin up a Kubernetes cluster, throw some stuff at it, and yeah, we're good. Depending on how you set up, once you get it running and stable, for the most part, it should be fine, but it's not like spinning up a Docker instance and just throwing a Docker compose at it, and then that's it. Like, there's a little bit more planning that goes into doing just a basic service setup versus Docker, just doing it in a VM or something. Can you recommend a low power, low budget 6 to 8 core for Proxmox? They have some, if you want to go modern, they make some like mini PCs with laptop grade processors in it. And some of the recent laptop processors are pretty high thread count. So I'm pretty sure you can find some like 10th gen, maybe Intel mini PCs with 10th gen Intel laptop CPUs with probably like 6 or 8 cores. That'll be relatively low power. It's hard to find a low power CPU with a high core count, but that would be your best bet if you're looking for a full system where you're going to be expanding and using as a NAS and you're going to want PCI expandability and storage expandability. I have a video from a while ago that I still think is a pretty solid video where I built a home server for like under $400, I think, for $400 using V2 Xeons with some Chinese motherboards and specifically Jinyu. brand because I've used quite a few Chinese motherboards, and oddly, Jinyu has been the best by far. But yeah, it's hard to recommend because I don't know what your overall goal is, but if you're just looking for something to play around with a high core count and low power draw, then yeah, I'd look for one of those mini PCs with a laptop grade CPU in it. Look at Morphon. Look at Morphons. What is that? 500 plus something similar. I use one with XCP&G. Host 64 gigabytes ECC4 DDR4. Yeah, it just depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for just a tiny system to mess around with, go with a small form factor with the laptop CPU. If you're looking for an actual server, I hate saying that because they're both can be servers. Or if you're looking for a traditional like desktop level storage or desktop level server with expandability for storage and PCI devices, then yeah, I'd go with something else. I've tried to follow people's guide and it usually doesn't work for me. For what? TVJ, are you talking about Kubernetes? Oh, offsite. Oh, for Kubernetes? What is your switch currently, and are you 2.5510? I have a couple of switches. My main one is the Unify Enterprise Pro 24 or 24 Enterprise 24 PoE, which I think is a fantastic switch for the price. It's 24 ports. All of them are PoE plus. 8 or 12 of them are gigabit and 12 are 2.5, and then there's 2 SPF plus 10 gig ports as well. So I run that, and you'd have to watch my Unify hardware video, but I'll give you the gist of it. I run that in my server rack, but then in my house, it was pre-wired with Cat5 all into a closet in the bedroom, in one of the bedrooms, and I didn't want to pull all that out and reroute it to the garage where my server is. So I threw a 8-port PoE switch in there, 2.5 gigabit, and a little mini 4-port switch just to give me more ports for stuff that I don't need PoE for. So I run a 10 gig link fiber from that 8-port 2.5 gig switch in the bedroom up through the attic and down into the garage to my main switch. So there's a 10 gig uplink between those, and then I still have 2.5 in the bedroom to the rest of the house, and then I have 2.5 in my main switch that I can run because my office where I'm in right now is like right above the garage, which is convenient. So I can easily run Cat 6 directly into here for testing or for access points or whatever. So yeah, that's my switch configuration. For offsite backup, would you place it at a friend or family member's house? Yeah, that's a plan. Would you accept hardware from the community for future giveaways? Probably. I don't want to say yes because it's a slippery slope you get into. But for how small my channel is, probably. If you're part of the Discord, you reach out to me, DM me, and explain that you want to submit some things for giveaway. Yeah, I could be about that. But in terms of just like opening up a PO box and telling people to like donate stuff for giveaways, no. I have no plans of doing anything like that. But Trey, there he is. Trey Bobby Flay. Late, man. You're late. How dare you? Welcome, Trey. The man, the myth, the legend is here. My Mac Studio draws 22 watts on load. It's bonkers, but no PCIe. Thunderbolt, though. Dude, I want a Mac Studio so bad. I have no real use for one, but I want one because they're so freaking ridiculous. 'Cause I'm part of the Apple ecosystem. You know, I got an iPhone, I got an Apple Watch, I got an iPad, and I got my MacBook Air. So I'm not like a Apple hater or anything. I'm not an anything hater. I run Windows, I run Linux, I run or Mac. Like I'm not tied to any specific OS or have any hatred towards a specific OS. But yeah, God, the Mac Studio, Apple is freaking blowing it out of the water with their custom silicon, man. And Intel and AMD better pick their shit up because I feel like in the next 5 years, Apple is going to be doing some crazy shit with their silicon. Asmio6, thank you so much for the donation, man. I appreciate it. I just want to support you and all the cool stuff you do. Awesome, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'm glad what I do is considered cool stuff to you. I think it's cool. I always go back and forth with projects on my list, and I'm like debating on if it's actually a cool project or if it's just something I think is cool, and then I get nervous when I do it and post a video and like, shit, dude, no one's gonna care for this. No one likes this. This is stupid. But you guys have been amazing so far with the channel and the growth and these live streams. I mean, freaking these things are. I was so nervous when I started live streaming because I think I started when I only had probably like a couple thousand subscribers, maybe 2,000 or 3,000 subscribers. And I was nervous that I would start streaming and like nobody would be in here, and it'd be one of those things where you sit there and talk to yourself for like 3 hours and no one joins and it's awkward and it never really takes off. But you know, they've gotten better and better, and now it's to the point to where you guys show up and it's easy to sit here and talk to you guys for 2-3 hours about stuff. So yeah, you guys are awesome. I appreciate it so much. Bruce, thank you so much for becoming a member, man. That is awesome. Join the Discord if you're a member, or Patreon. I try to post things over there. I struggle with debating about what's stupid to post over there or what's useful. So I'm trying to get some more stuff posted over there. If you join the Discord and you're a YouTube member or Patreon member, you do get special like badge, you do get a special role and access to a specific channel, and you know, collaborate with people in there and talk to them. And you know, if I'm selling things, usually I'll ask those guys first. So you do get some perks around there, but you know, for the most part, just supporting me has been so freaking awesome. You guys are amazing. So thank you so much, Bruce. Robert Patterson, super chat, $10. Thank you. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Wow. Okay. Back to back to back. Woo. Man, you guys, okay. Where was I? Trey joined and shit hit the fan, man. I'd like to try Mac OS for an extended period of time. I just won't buy hardware just to try it, and doesn't play nicely with virtual machines on other hosts. I did a, yeah, it's a pain in the ass to get set up. You can set up a Hackintosh, but lately it's gotten so much more of a pain in the ass to get that stuff set up. I have a video on my channel. It's really old about getting a Hackintosh set up. But yeah, it's a pain, but I feel you. I wish there was a way to try out Mac OS without having to have dedicated Apple hardware, but I feel you. Seconded on the P.O. box. Maybe one day, you know, if I didn't even know there was a desire to send me stuff, honestly. So knowing that, maybe it'll be something I'll actually consider. Maple FPV. Hi, I'm a student and just got started building a home lab with Lenovo, a Lenovo Tiny Proxmox HPE switch. Your videos are very helpful. Well, good. I'm glad I can help out, man. If you want to join, like I mentioned before in the Discord, you don't have to be, there's no paywall or anything to join Discord. You can join a lot of helpful people in there. I've made it very clear throughout my channel and especially in my Discord that it is not a place for any type of Linux or OS snobbery. I personally have had the feeling where you go to a forum and you ask around and it's intimidating because everyone looks at you like you're an idiot just because you're trying to learn things. So I've made that clear in my community, in my Discord, that you will never be looked down on for asking questions, especially if you're just trying to learn. So feel free to join Discord. Link I'm pretty sure is in the description if you guys want to head there and hang out, ask questions. Trey, 2 months. Member for 2 months. Look at you, dude. You're just a regular around here. Typing to you on the Hackintosh right now? Actually, yeah. Get with Robert. He's running one right now. I think I still have the Hackintosh. I might have actually just recently deleted it. Let me see. From my Proxmox VM list. Let me see. Yeah, I still have it. I don't even know if it works anymore, honestly. So I still have my Mac OS VM. I can try to run it. I don't think. Let me make sure I don't have any USB device. I'm going to take this off. I don't even know what this is. No shot this is going to work. I haven't run this Hackintosh VM in so long. What are the odds it starts up? Oh, what did I miss? What did I miss? As me again, Super Chad. Just do what you love. Trust me, your passion is easily transverses the internet and can be felt on the other side of the screen. It's cool seeing people do stuff with a passion. Man, that means a lot. That's something as a YouTube creator that a lot of people struggle with, is that you have to decide. It's a balance between doing videos about what you personally are passionate about versus doing the videos for the most content, for the most views, for the most likes. And finding that balance, I think, is a struggle for a lot of people. So I'm glad if I can convey my passion with all this and have it also be entertaining or, helpful to everyone. That's just all I can really ask for. My YouTube channel's already surpassed my expectations that I had going into it. So, oh shit, I don't know my password. I booted up though. But yeah, man, I appreciate it so much. Thank you. I really mean it. Dude, I don't know this password. There's no way. Wait, did I get a first try? Oh shit. All right, we're in. All right, here's my Hackintosh. I guess it works. Does, can I do this? No. I don't know how to open, I'm used to Windows or Mac spacebar, but I can't run that. It won't let me. How do I do the, search bar? I just want to open, I guess I'll just do Edge. I think networking works on here. Yeah, here's my Hackintosh. But yeah, I guess it still works. Neat. Not that I use it for anything because I have a MacBook. Kind of sounded like a weird flex. Having a MacBook doesn't make you any better. Cool. Oh my god, I missed something else. Nathan, Super Chat 90. Dude, thank you guys are crazy. Thank you so much. Let me get back to I feel like I'm missing some chats. Nathan, appreciate it so much. Thank you, man. That really means a lot. The Discord is pretty great. A lot of good people in there. I agree, 100%. Super welcoming community. I ask really dumb questions all the time and no one yells at me. Trey, we would never yell at you. You're special. We know that. You can run Mac OS on any Linux box with like 2 command lines with Sosumi Snap. I've never heard of that, but if that's true, then that's dope. I was watching on my TV. I run Proxmox with Windows and OS X, each with their own dedicated GPU. Yeah, that's awesome. Proxmox makes it relatively. I feel like I'm clipping. My audio is clipping. Yeah, Proxmox makes it relatively easy to do PCI pass-through of GPUs. Mac OS is a little more finicky when it comes to GPU pass-through. It took me a while to get it set up just because natively they don't support anything NVIDIA after like early, some of the lower end 10,000 series, maybe. And then obviously AMD's should be supported. Some of their GPUs don't work. I can't remember which version of Mac OS I'm running, but yeah, it took me a while to get GPU pass-through working on Mac. Macintosh can be intimidating, but it's fun. I agree. Just like Kubernetes is fun. Fun has a different meaning when you put it in the same sentence as Kubernetes. Let's just say that. Nathan, work has me late again. Damn, dude, that sucks. I know the feeling. We have like 11 or 12 people in our group, and we do on-call rotations. So every 11 weeks, I'm on call for a week. So I know the feeling of the working late thing. It can be kind of shitty. So hopefully, at least while you're working, you can have the stream open, at least be somewhat entertained by me and the crew we have here tonight. Oh shit, Bruce snagged a. I didn't even know I had alerts on for buying merch. Well, thank you. That's awesome. I actually had someone buy like a hoodie the other day, and I was like, why? Who's buying a hoodie? It's like 100 degrees out. So good call with the t-shirt. Brand, use Synergy to share keyboard and mouse. And Sono bust a pipe around. Yeah, I've heard of Synergy. Some of the people at work use that for control rooms. We have a lot of different systems, like a bunch of different screens and systems running on each of those, and I'm pretty sure they use Synergy for that, so you can control everything. Drury, hey, loving the Kubernetes stuff. Have you considered a series on Nomad? Maybe a whole Hashi stack with Terraform, Vault console, a little bit of Ansible or whatever. So I'm very new to Kubernetes. I was explaining that a bit in the stream. I'm 2 weeks in. I kind of walked through my Rancher and Longhorn setup. I'm currently just hosting Pi-hole, Nextcloud, the basic stack, Traffic, MeadowLB, Cert Manager, my website, my new doc site that is in progress. This is hosted within my Kubernetes cluster. That was my first intro into building my own Docker image and then using that Docker image to deploy to my Kubernetes cluster. So that was cool, even though it was a pretty simple Docker image. Still cool to say you've done it. Ansible is the next step I'll be taking within the next few weeks. I'll be looking into Ansible stuff because that's kind of the necessary monster you have to slay when you get into Kubernetes, I feel like, because spinning up all your stuff manually kind of sucks. So knowing Ansible is one of those things I feel like you have to do. So I will be getting into Ansible. The other stuff you mentioned in due time. I'm taking it slow, but I'm glad you like the content. I was very nervous about doing the week-long series because I didn't know if it would come across as me just looking like a complete dumbass. And at points I know I did, but you know, everyone has different paths for learning things. And I wanted to show just because I have a camera and I post things to the internet doesn't mean I'm some type of guru that is above messing up and looking like an idiot. So if anything, I hope it urged some people that were kind of intimidated by Kubernetes to kind of take that on and see that, yeah, you know, it's okay to mess up. As long as you're learning and, you know, you stick around, get to that end game, it can be worth it. Bruce, I'll rock it with pride. Hell yeah, man. That's awesome. I feel like it keeps skipping messages. Like it drags down the thing and I skip messages and then go up. Stopped at High Sierra with NVIDIA. Yeah, that sounds right. I bought my bought my Unify system one piece at a time. So far, no regrets. Yeah, I mentioned earlier when people were asking about, you know, Unify versus Omada. Because I'm in this situation right now where I run Unify but I do videos on Omada as well, and so I understand why people are like, why you just talked about how awesome Omada is, but you talk about how you run Unify in your home lab. What the hell, man? You must be getting paid by one of these companies. No, I'm not. I'm not getting paid by either company. TP-Link has sent me things because, you know, I guess they like my way of explaining things in my videos. So I was already using Omada stuff before, and they asked if I would do videos on that if they sent me stuff, and I said sure. Unify recently reached out to me like a couple of days ago to discuss some stuff. So we'll see where that goes, but everything I will disclose to you guys. I'm not ever gonna like take money under the table for shilling some product that I don't like. If I do take money, I've taken money once, and that was a sponsored segment that you saw in the giveaway video from Netgear. But I will explain to you guys, if a company sends me something, I will let you know in the video. And if they send me something, I can guarantee you I'm going to treat the product as if I bought it myself. So, oh, Tyler, $5 super chat. It started with Raspberry Pi running Open Media Vault, then an Optiplex running Pfsense, and now an old gaming PC running Proxmox. Thank you for your guidance. That is a very good progression, I'd say. Open Media Vault on a Raspberry Pi, I think I can't say underrated now. If you would ask me like a year ago when you could actually buy Raspberry Pis for retail $30, a Raspberry Pi with some like external hard drives to mess around with and run Open Media Vault is an awesome little setup. But now Raspberry Pis are impossible to get, so it's kind of hard to say it's underrated. Then an Optiplex running Pfsense, that is certainly a good step up. Optiplexes are awesome to find, secondhand. You can get them for relatively cheap. Old gaming PC running Proxmox. Yeah, that's a natural progression. Next thing, you're going to be in here telling me you just bought an Epic-based full rack-mounted server. I know how the progression goes, man. I've been there. You can go watch some of my older videos. I started with an old gaming PC running a Ryzen 2700 that I started virtualization on, and that was my home lab. But thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. One note on TrueNAS Scale, their random IO is very bad right now. Use care until they fix that. So they did just do an update today. TrueNAS Scale just released an update today, a major update. Where is their... I want to see their release notes for 23 release notes. There we go. We can't read that. Oh my God, just Zoom. What the hell? All right. This isn't here. Oh, wait. 22.02. No, it's 20. They don't even have. Wait, was this the one? No. Yeah. Okay, August 9th. 22.2.3. So here's the improvements they made, change, bug fixes, crap ton of bug fixes, and a security report. So a lot of stuff got improved or fixed in this. So let's see, anything that has to do with random IO. Some of this could have fixed it. I don't know. I just found out about this today. So recommend go checking it out. If you're running Scale, let me know if it fixes your IO issues, random IO. But yeah, I put TrueNAS Scale on the server that I'm giving away. I run TrueNAS Core as my main voice crack, puberty. I run TrueNAS Core as my main NAS operating system, but I strongly recommend Scale for anyone looking to get that kind of all-in-one NAS and virtualization in one kind of hypervisor OS. I think Scale is an excellent system for that. Ah, what did I miss? Dude, it keeps doing that. Okay, let me catch up. I have to rapid fire some of these. Would second the vault. My attempts so far have been to get up and running and then to go with getting secrets injected in. What did I miss? I missed something about vault. Did I say something about vault? Zenith, I wound up using GPU pass-through to make my living room server appear to be much more than a reasonable HTPC. Yeah, GPU pass-through is awesome. Being able to set up a server. I've debated that so I mentioned my server rack is in my garage, which is like right on the other side of this wall. I'm on the second floor, so I'm like right above the garage, so I can easily run cables to my server rack from my desk. I was debating doing the whole Linus thing, where he did a server in one room and ran just one Thunderbolt cable. I was thinking about doing a dedicated GPU and dedicated Thunderbolt card pass through to a Windows VM in my server and just having run Thunderbolt up through here and just have a dock where I can plug in all my stuff, plug in monitors, and use that as my main PC. But I don't know. I like my regular PC too much. By the way, if you have Pfsense and use traffic for your ingress controller in Kubernetes, you can set up traffic to use node port as opposed to load balancer and set up Pfsense hproxy as the real load balancer. I messed with that. I didn't like the implementation of hproxy load balancer, but the way I do have it set up is it's weird. So I have my hproxy, reverse proxy, and Pfsense that sends all my traffic through to my Docker or whatever services I have running in my lab. But with my Kubernetes configuration and traffic, it's set up as like an external ingress to Cloudflare directly. So what I'm doing is I can probably just show you. So I'll explain this the best I can. So hproxy, I have kind of a default back end where if it doesn't match any of my regular services, it sends it directly to traffic ingress to handle. So I can still use hproxy as my reverse proxy. I didn't like how it implemented load balancing, but I'll revisit that again. That was early in my Kubernetes journey. But yeah, integrating Pfsense with hproxy and traffic, I'm still trying to find the best way to do that. So yeah, if you have it worked out for you, then that's awesome. Brandon Radel, have you attempted to get a VPN container to work as a gateway for other containers to use? I'm having failures with Swarm, not using network mode. Attempted to get a VPN container to work as a gateway. A VPN container to work as a gateway for other containers to use. No, so I'll show you what I have set up and the way I handle that. I have all my VPN stuff set up through Pfsense, and I'll show you how I'm kind of doing it. Make sure none of my information showing up here. Okay. So the way I have it running is, okay, we should be good. So here's my firewall rules for my LAN. And within my LAN, I have to move these over. I'm breaking the rule that I just mentioned before with my Kubernetes cluster. But these are kind of, you'll see. So I have this alias list of PIA devices. So I have a virtual machine running, and everything in Portainer I want to run through a VPN, and I have PIA. So I've set up a PIA gateway in Pfsense. And anything that's coming from these two IPs, instead of getting routed through my regular WAN, it gets routed through this PIA gateway. So I don't set up a VPN gateway within a cluster. I have a gateway set up within my firewall and just point specific services or IPs directly through that gateway and do it that way. And it works really well. I followed a guide by Tom Lawrence Systems, fantastic YouTube channel for anything Pfsense, and used his guide, especially with having the kill switch option in there, using floating rules, where you can tag this as VPN traffic and then have a floating rule to say VPN traffic can only go through your VPN gateway, so that if the VPN goes down, it won't default to your WAN. So I don't know if I don't do this, but if you're downloading like movies illegally. And that's going through a VPN, but then the VPN goes down. You don't want that failing over to your WAN gateway. So you can have this kind of like kill switch thing going on, which works really well for me. Really long answer to that. I'm sorry. That may have not even been what you were asking, but I apologize. Radal's a TP-Link shill confirmed. I mean, I like their stuff, so if that makes me a shill, I guess so. I just started down the Omada path. I might regret it. Luckily, it's cheaper than the Unify path. That's all I gotta say. Please do a video on hosting a local intranet website on TrueNAS scale. I'm running into a dead end with Nginx on where's the directory located to load the website. Nginx is going to load what's in the HTML www default directory. I just deployed this the other day. I should know this. And Nginx oh default. Oh my god. Too far away from the keyboard. var wht no. I want the user share Nginx HTML. I thought it was var. Default web hosting directory. User share Nginx HTML. I'm tripping right now, dude. Why am I? Why am I tripping right now? Is it not in? Yeah, var www, right? So yeah, depending on what version of Nginx you deployed and on what distro, then you should have a default root directory for where Nginx is hosting your site. And if you go in there, by default, there's a basic index.html site or file in there. And if you take that out and replace it with your release of your website, then that's what it will look for. It will look for an index.html by default. And there's other options you can configure, but that's how my website is deployed. Just packaging the release of your website and throwing it in that Nginx default location. And it should spin it up. So oh my gosh, I'm missing so many. var www.html, there you go. Yeah, I was like, I'm tripping, dude. Like, I just did this the other day. Journey is half the fun, but you're right, good hardware hurts the wallet. Yeah, I agree. Like I said, there's people who want to learn and there's people who just want to get things set up. So depending on what camp you're in will determine what you're going to run or what you want to spend money on. TrueNAS scale and Proxmox here. I love learning Proxmox with it. Yeah. I can agree that Proxmox isn't the most intuitive hypervisor OS around, but I personally use it and I'm comfortable with it. I just like the feature set that it brings, and I have no real reason to switch. But I have tried other things just because, you know, I got to try them so that I can compare. I don't think there's any out there that are necessarily bad. I didn't like XCP and G, that whole environment, just because it's different. Not saying it's bad by any stretch of the imagination. I know a lot of people use it and like it. I wasn't a fan of it, but I am going to give it another try soon. So don't burn me at the stake. Asmi says, I use Synology for my NAS. Just don't trust anything else with my data, some of which I just can't run the risk of losing it, as government can fine me for that. Oof. Yeah, I mean, I've deployed a couple of Synology devices for people. I've never used one personally. I'm a very big fan of their UI. Compared to QNAPs, Synology's is way better, to be honest. But as I'm messing around with QNAPs, I keep pointing over here. I guess I'll show you. For those of you that weren't around earlier when I showed, my next video is going to be on this QNAP, like all-in-one media PC/NAS. That'll be a video coming up, and I have mixed feelings about it. But as I'm using it more, I'm finding some more and more cool stuff that this thing can do. So we'll see how the review comes out. Bruce said he just started messing with Scale. It's great so far. Yeah, I've had pretty positive experiences with Scale. I am a huge fan of Core as my NAS, but I don't trust it with other stuff for virtualization, especially with jails. I hate it. I just don't even bother using TrueNAS Core jails for any virtualization there. But as a rock solid NAS operating system, it's freaking amazing. So I think they just took that. Obviously, it's the same. They're using ZFS, but one's on FreeBSD versus now you get the benefits of running it on Linux. So that opens up a brand new world for more supported virtualization and containerization that you didn't really get in FreeBSD. So I think in the next couple of years, Scale will be so mature, or it's not obviously going to be on the level of Core. That's years and years of reliability and testing and upgrades under its belt. But I think in the next few years, Scale is going to be extremely popular. Sorry I'm late, Nighthawk. There he is. No problem, my man. Welcome. Wade, where would you put the RGB then? I guess you're referring to my running my main PC and my server rack. I do have RGB in my server rack. I have a LED strip that goes around I can change the colors of, so gotcha. Paulo says, how did you manage to tame the fans in your Epic server? The fans in my Epic server aren't bad at all. It's a 4U chassis, and I run a knock to a U9. It's not the big DH15 or whatever, but it's a smaller one, and it's dual 92 millimeter fans. It keeps it relatively quiet. I mean, probably the quietest server in my rack, honestly, because I have my backup server that's in a 2U system, and then I have a 1U test server that's an old Dell, and I had to go into the I had to download a script and modify a script just to get the fans to stop ramping up to like 100% when the CPU is just at like 40 degrees. So I tamed that one. So all of them are relatively quiet now, but those 1U ones can be a little tricky. By the way, great work. Thank you. I appreciate that, man. Thank you for stopping by. Razzo, hi, big fan. Thank you, man. Thanks for stopping by. Some bunch of newcomers this stream. It's awesome to see you guys hopping in. Appreciate you being here. Hi, just returned from a little research after you pointed me to your video regarding an AliExpress motherboard and old Intel CPU. Seems like the way to go for me now. Thanks. Yeah. If you're gonna go with those Chinese boards, I know they all seem very similar, but for some reason the Jinyu brand, JGINYUE, have been much more stable and have given me much less trouble. And all of the boards that I've gone through Jinyu have had IOMMU support for PCI pass-through, and some of the Chinese boards that I've bought that weren't Jinyu did not support them. Like Machinist, I think, is another one of them. I can't remember the other brand, but yeah, straight up no like IOMMU support. What do you think about India? I don't have any strong feelings about it. I don't know. I love Indian food. We made Indian food the other day. It was delicious. Can you do that in Unify? That's amazing. You're talking about the custom firewall rules? Or no, the gateway. You're talking about the VPN gateway. No, I don't think you can, but I got to get that Dream Machine hooked up to poke around with. But I was informed that OpenVPN support is coming to Unify gateways within the next few weeks. So with that, maybe you'll be able to set it up with PIA and do some fancy gateway configurations, but I doubt it. I don't want to say no because obviously I've never even set one up yet. So, but just what I've seen and heard from Unify, that doesn't seem like something that they would allow setting up multiple gateways like that. But yeah, I could be wrong. We'll see. Javier, welcome. There he is. Welcome to the stream, my man. Good to see you. Z400 Racer 37. Tell that to the guy who tried to hack Ubiquity. Yeah. Unify can do. Oh, they can do that. Yeah. They do have their own VPN you can set up, but I don't know. In terms of, I was talking in terms of setting up with your own like PIA subscription using them and doing custom. I thought, again, I don't want to spend too much time on this because I don't have hands-on experience with stuff and I don't like talking about things I don't have hands-on experience with that I don't know a lot about. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on Unify and what it can and can't do because then I'm just going to look like an idiot. But I did see there's VPN configuration stuff in there. I thought that was just setting up a VPN server that I could connect to from outside of my network back into my network. I didn't know if it worked as like a client to a server connection as a gateway. So I'll have to mess around with it. The Jin Yang brand. That's funny. I'm trying to figure out my spot that I left off on. My God, am I this far behind? Oh my God, I'm so far. Okay, I'm gonna start rapid fire. I didn't realize how far I was behind you guys. Okay, do you like the message I left in your Nextcloud a week or so ago? I have to go back and check. I can't recall it off the top of my head. I apologize. Weirdo, thanks for an answer. I knew that was an option. Use case was for internal browsing. I use NordVPN for it as WireGuard. Makes things more interesting. Where does Raid Owl name come from other than just because it's badass, obviously? It is a really dumb, boring story that isn't that exciting. When I was messing around with developing and stuff, I started an LLC, an app. It was called Happy Owl. And then when I started my channel, I wanted to keep it on the same brand as Owl, and I was trying to think of words that flowed with it and sounded cool and whatever, and eventually ended up with Raid Owl. That was not that exciting. No deep meaning behind it. Even an old laptop is good for learning. Yeah, built-in UPS, built-in screen. Yeah, 100%. I have an old Chromebook. I did a video on turning your Chromebook into a home server. So if you can snag an old Chromebook, do it. Like I said on Discord, due to me trying out Proxmox, I'll have to change the whole layout of my office. Bad thing is that I'll have to spend a lot of time redoing some things. That's where you learn the most. It's messing up and having to redo things. I used Proxmox in the past, but moved to XCP-ng because of SDN support. XCP-ng is just so different. I like the aspect of not installing the actual like GUI part of it on each system is so interesting to me. It's almost like having like worker nodes and then like a master node communicating with those as a GUI. It's really cool what they're doing, but it was so different. I got to jump back into it. Should I upgrade my TrueNAS core to scale if it's in production? If it's just serving as a NAS, personally, I wouldn't. If you're looking to do more with it in terms of virtualization and containerization, especially with Docker, then yeah, go for it. Do you like scale over Proxmox? If you made me choose one to use for the rest of my life, then I would choose scale. But since I don't have to choose and I can use both, then I like both of them. They're both better for different things. I like Proxmox better for virtualization, and I like scale better for the NAS features. So maybe I installed Nginx incorrectly. I have 0 folders or files in any of the pools. Is there a volume data set that it needs? Sorry, I'm very new to TrueNAS. No worries, dude. I'd have to look in specifically in scale to see how it works with the containers, but I assume it's just a Docker container, and you'd have to exec into the container to look at your exact files that are in there, unless you've specified a custom volume that's hosted somewhere else on your scale system. But yeah, join the Discord. It'll be much easier for me and a bunch of people to help you out over there. Don't worry, like I said before, about asking questions in there. Everyone there is extremely friendly. I've made it clear in there that, you know, I don't care if you're you've been doing sysadmin work for 30 years and you're a professional, or you're just getting started out. You know, people are here to learn, so don't be an asshole. So don't worry, man. Go over there and ask, and hopefully someone over there can help. I try to get to as many questions in there as I can, but you know, sometimes other people either beat me to it, or you know, I'm working on other things. But yeah, somebody should definitely be able to help you over there. Eric, long time no see, man. What is up? Same thing as I'm running in my Epic server. +4 Noctua fans in the Meshify XL case. Yeah, man. If you want low freaking noise Noctua is the way to go. I would rather take up more use of rack space to get a quieter and more energy efficient system than having a bunch of blowy matrons in there being loud and obnoxious. Boris, hello, welcome. Luna, should I know everything Pfsense, TrueNAS, Plex, etc. into 1 or 2 boxes? I have everything bare metal right now. You can. There's nothing stopping you from virtualizing all of that. I have gone on record and said many times that I really dislike virtualizing network gear. That's why I've dedicated Pfsense boxes I have dedicated controllers for Unify and for Omada. I don't virtualize any of that. I know a lot of people do and they like it. I have no qualms with them. I don't think one's necessarily better than the other. I'm just more comfortable with dedicated hardware for my important like network stuff. So that's up to you. You can certainly, like I said, virtualize all of that in a single box. It's just, honestly up to you. What would, if you're asking, it's hard. I'm going to use you as an example, not in a bad way. But when people come and they say, should I do this or should I do this? I always have to respond with, like, it depends on X, Y, and Z. But if you're asking, what would I do? It's easier to answer because my answer can just be because that's what I like. So if you're asking, what would I do? I would have my own dedicated Pfsense box. I would run Proxmox, virtualize TrueNAS, and run Plex in a Docker container or an LXC container in Proxmox. You can use resistor cables to force the fans to run quieter. Yeah, you can definitely do some voltage control on those for sure, but if I can do it with software, I'd rather do it that way. The Jin Yang brand, gets me. Alex, need to set up Gridfinity storage and use a wall control board. I don't know what that means, but it sounds cool. Steve says, hey, I just set up my home server with TrueNAS Scale. I've successfully hosted Nextcloud, Vault Warden, and my TrueNAS Scale externally using traffic and Cloudflare thanks to your videos. Thank you. Awesome. That is the stack right there, dude. Once you have a hypervisor OS you're comfortable with, you get all your services up and running, you have it externally facing properly with TLS, then, man, you're good to go. Peter, I even run multiple high RPM Delta fans for my PC when I power. You are a crazy person. This dude's running Delta fans on his main PC. I can only imagine. Dude, I'm a noise snob when it comes to my when it comes to my personal PCs. My main PC has 1, 2, 3 radiators for the cooling, for the water cooling setup. They're all thick boy radiators, and the fans are tuned to run like super low RPM so that it can stay quiet even when at full load, because I hate noise in my PC. So Jason's Lab, hey, welcome. What is up, my man? Welcome to the stream, dude. Hope all is going well over there in YouTube land, man. I know how it'd be. Frank, what appliance are you running your Pfsense box on? I'm running a dedicated Netgate SG4100. I was running an SG1100, but that wasn't cutting it, so I upgraded to a 4100. I run it. I wouldn't recommend it to people just because the price for what you get, I think, isn't worth it for the most part. I would say buy your own hardware and host it that way. You can get much more performance per dollar if you do it that way. Need more hard drives. Always seem to be running out of storage. Do you have a tutorial on how to set up an offsite NAS with rsync or some sort of timed sync? Man, I talked about that earlier in the stream that I'm in the next, hopefully, month or so, I'm going to be deploying a offsite server, and I'll probably be using rsync within ZFS to do my backups. So I don't have one yet, but soon. Make sure you're subscribed. But yeah, no, I'll have one coming soon. That is actually something that is on my soon to-do list. Jorge, Great work. Have to go now. Thanks for your time. Yeah, man. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it, man. Catch you next time, hopefully. Have a good night. QNAPsnology, this is easy in the GUI. If you have a NAS, I run Open Media Vault and it has a lot of guides on this with 5-bay ARM NAS. Yeah, QNAP and Synology are designed to be more user-friendly than your traditional setups. Could do cron, scheduled script to do rsync, or enter a possible option might be using something like Gloucester FS geo replication. Yeah, I feel like most hypervisors though now, especially NAS-based hypervisors, come with built-in rsync scheduling. So unless you're just hosting your shit on like a bare metal Linux server or something, should be something in there for rsync scheduling. For XCP&G, you can use Windows desktop application to manage VMs and not having their web GUI installed at all. I did not know that. That's pretty legit. Telling you, I got to get into it. If you start getting crazy on storage needs, look at Moose FS or Lizard FS. I feel like you're trolling me. You're just picking animals and then just putting FS after it. What about Shark FS, huh? Or Possum FS? That's a good one. Nah, man, I'm joking. If those are actual things, I mean, I'm certainly open to browsing around and trying things out. It's kind of what I do. So, Alan. All right, homie. Got to shut it down because I'm in the future. We'll holler at you later. Good night, chat. Appreciate you stopping by, Mr. Allen. Have a good night, my man. You're probably gone now because that's an old, because I'm behind. Proxmox was such easy to set up the next XCP&G. I got an XCP&G instance running, but never actually putting VM because I'm a noob. Yeah, that's kind of my perspective. I got XCP&G set up and running, but I wasn't in love with it, so I didn't really put a lot of time into learning it, and that's on me. So I kind of ditched it. But yeah, Bruce, great answer. This is why I love your videos. I forget what I said, but I guess it was profound. Thank you. Oh shit. Choosing between Proxmox and TrueNAS. Choose Proxmox. TrueNAS is made for a NAS. Proxmox for virtualization. You can put TrueNAS on Proxmox and move on. Agreed? That's what I do. So agree 100% with that. The only snag I had with XCP&G is that it didn't support my 2.5 gig network card out of the box. Had to install additional package to have it working. I haven't had very many issues when it came to hardware compatibility with Proxmox. The only thing was recently when I installed my 40 gig NIC, running in InfiniBand mode just didn't play nicely at all. And after doing research, it seems that's common. InfiniBand is kind of like a pain in the ass from what I read to set up in general. So I just have it in Ethernet mode. So, Vunhon, I'm going to butcher it. Vunhon Chia. I did not say that right. I'm sorry. Is there a rule of thumb on how many vCPUs should be assigned to an LXC or a VM? No, it depends on what you're running. I mean, if you want to virtualize a gaming or a workstation virtual machine, then you're obviously going to want to supply it with as much cores that you need for that, workload. If you're running an LXC, then, maybe you're just spinning up a simple like Docker Nginx site or something that only needs 2 cores and a gig of RAM or something, or maybe even less. So there's no real rule of thumb. Most services or operating systems will tell you what their minimum requirements are. So I'd go by that more so than any real rule of thumb. Sean Campbell, hey, I made it. Welcome. I'm glad you can make it, my man. Good to see you. God, you guys are typing, dude. How do How do big streamers do this? How do they handle like reading chat? I'm so far behind. I bought my Nextgate 6100 as much for the features and to support. I almost bought 6100, but it was a little out of my price range. Very solid piece of kit though. Right off, you want silence, go LTT style and water cool your rack servers. I have my water cooled PC. I'm fine with that. I don't think I need a water cooled rack server. Maybe one day. We'll see. We'll see. We definitely make a good video. I agree. Esteban, hi. New to the network game. Believe it or not, my ISP blocked my Pfsense router, breaking my brain for 3 days trying to get it to work. Change your MAC address in Pfsense. Spoof your MAC address, and that should get you going. You can change it in Pfsense. So if you go into system, I haven't had to do it yet, so I can't remember where you change your MAC address. Is it in general setup? Where is it? I know you can do it. Not in routing, huh? No. You can spoof your MAC address in Pfsense. And once you do that, because usually that's what happens with ISP modems, they're assholes and they'll block certain MAC addresses. One thing that you can do that's worked for me when I was having issues in the past, not necessarily on Pfsense, but I think it was Spectrum. They gave me a modem and a router, and I copied the MAC address from my router that they gave me and used that as my MAC address. It might have been with Pfsense, I can't remember. So I spoofed it so it saw my Pfsense firewall as the same one that they gave me. So they were like, okay, that's cool. You're good to go. So yeah, it's something I would look into. Yeah, after multiple years maintaining enterprise-grade hardware, that fan sound kind of gets in your head, and also tinnitus. Yeah, I believe that. Digital Spaceport, like the 40-bit or 40 gigabit video. How's your 40 gigabit networking going for now chips in time for editing? I love it. I haven't even saturated it, really. I mean, I can get up to like 26 gigabit. But I mean, I have that NVMe card in there, that 4-port NVMe PCI Gen 4 RAID card. It's not a RAID card, but that thing, yeah. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it unless you're doing lots of editing and you're editing directly from your NAS. Even then, 10 gig is fine, but it's cool. It works. Foot cramp? Yeah, so far so good. Alak, this is my first ever comment on a live stream. I like your videos, tutorials. You and some other creators inspired me to enjoy set up my own home lab. Awesome, man. I think that's what me and a lot of creators in this space. It's awesome to hear that, just from our learning and setting up stuff can inspire other people to do the same. It's freaking sweet. So yeah, that's awesome to hear. And we have a Discord. If you have some questions about getting stuff set up, don't hesitate to ask, man. Baby whale, see ya. All right, later. Are you saying that to somebody else, or are you peacing out? If you're peacing out, good to have you in here. Appreciate the new face. Thank you for stopping by. What did I miss? I feel like I missed something. Oh, look at Sean Campbell coming in with the Discord link. I use Windows 10 Pro, Bruce says, on most of my machines, so I can use RDP to remote in with ease. What are your thoughts on that? I like Windows. I have no problem with Windows. I know it's cool to bash on Windows and hate Windows as a Linux user, but I don't. Yeah, RDPing in to Windows machines is super easy, convenient. I work, like my main job is working with Windows stuff. My main PC is Windows. No qualms there. I have Pfsense running on bare metal Optiplex 790 SFF, but I want to run it on Optiplex 750 Micro. As for second NIC, I think I can add an M2 WLAN adapter to Ethernet with some mods. That is certainly an undertaking. I would be too lazy and just buy a machine with two ports or two NICs built in already. So, but yeah, if you can get that working, that's awesome. You have to skip people. Yeah, I agree. How do big streamers do this? They miss 90% of them. Yeah. CM Nor, there he is. Welcome, Mr. CM Nor. Big streamers don't read every chat. Yeah, no, I'm trying. I'm trying, Trey. I know I won't be able to. I like it small enough to where I can read all of them, but oh my God. 100K water-cooled server. Certainly an option. Interfaces in Pfsense on the actual interface. Oh, okay. To spoof. Oh, you spoof the actual interface. Let me see. Yeah, okay. So go to your WAN, and in your actual interface, you can go down here to MAC address, and you can spoof one here. So just pick a random one at that point, or just generate one, and it'll change it. At that point, your modem shouldn't really be blocked. If that's how they're doing it, then you should be good to go. I've had 40 gig RAM for 6 months. Increase your MTU to jumbo to get better performance. I've been testing. Yeah, I have jumbo on. Yeah, I use jumbo packets on that direct connection specifically. Yeah, I get high 20s. I'm fine with that. I haven't tweaked with it much, but maybe there are some things I can do to increase it. Adam, when you upgrading that crusty old 40 gig to 100 gig? Sheesh. I can't even max out the 40 gig, but one day, maybe. I do have a habit of upgrading to things I don't need, so that is certainly plausible. Oh God, I'm easily impressionable. The best part about Windows is RDP. The worst thing about RDP is Windows. Haha. I feel that. I have a 100 gigabit switch. Cards are too expensive. Yeah, I mean, when I was looking at doing like a jump from 10 gig to something else, it's the cards that get you. It's like, oh, I can buy a fiber cable for 20 something bucks. That's not a big deal. But the cards, especially 100 gig, they're like a couple $100 per. So, not worth. 200 gig lag. Y'all are getting absurd. We don't need that much throughput. Have you thought about setting up multiple scenes for the stream to emphasize different aspects? I mean, I can. Like, I have different. I mean, the only ones I use are these two. Like, switching between looking at my beautiful face versus, like, showing my screen. But this is just a generic, like, template. So I don't have any experience with designing stream overlays. And I've paid 2 different people on Fiverr to make ones, and they were so shit that I feel like to get a one that I really like that's customized, I'm gonna have to drop a lot of money for someone to do it. So I'm not there yet. I like this one right now, but yeah, if I start streaming more consistently again, then I'll look into upgrading the stream a bit. But as of right now, I'm fine with this. Absurd or passionate? Same thing. I got 2 10 gig NICs for $30 each. That's awesome. Damn. Yeah, you don't need a switch now. Just run it direct from your server to your machine. My condolences switching between these. No, dude. I mean, obviously I can upgrade my stream. That's, yeah. I just give it like why I haven't, because this has been perfectly fine for now, and I'm just lazy and had bad experiences with paying people to do it. So here we are. One day though, if I'm consistently pulling higher viewers, not that, I mean, I'm perfectly fine with having 47 freaking people here on hour 3 of my stream. That's, again, more than I ever imagined live streaming tech stuff on YouTube. Like, I messed around with streaming a long time ago on Twitch, like gaming, when I was younger. And if I had like 4 people watching, that was crazy. And when I jumped into streaming on YouTube, I know it's Twitch is a bigger platform for live streaming, but I don't really have a following on Twitch. So I was nervous about streaming on YouTube because it's not harder to grow, I guess. Depends on, you know, your it's hour 3. I'm struggling to think of words. Where your community is. But yeah, I was nervous about streaming on YouTube because I was like, shit, dude, I'm really bad at talking to myself for like, with no chat for like an hour, 2 hours, however long these go. So yeah, the fact that we're getting consistent viewers now is crazy. And you know, one day if we start pulling more and I start streaming more consistently, then we'll do some fancy stream upgrades. Whoa, PCMD, thank you so much, man. With the big super chat. Any way to do a video and having a single ISO line with 2 IPs and set up 2 routers utilizing the IPs? Love the content, but prefer Proxmox and TrueNAS scale. Yeah, I love Proxmox and TrueNAS scale. Yeah, thank you so much. So what you're looking to do is having a single ISO line with 2 IPs and set up 2 routers utilizing. Yeah, okay. I was like, I'm trying to think what ISO line is. Yeah, a single ISP line in with 2 IPs. So to do that, so if you can get 2 dedicated static IPs from your ISP, you can bring them in to like Pfsense. Pfsense is good at handling multiple WANs. You can bring them in and separate different WAN interfaces based on those static IPs. And you can do that all within one Pfsense router. If you're asking how to do it, setting up 2 routers, I hate giving this answer because it might not be exactly what you're asking, but I'm trying to think. I don't know that there's a way you can set up 2 separate routers with one ISP line coming in. What you can do is have that line coming in to your modem going directly pass through in bridge mode to Pfsense and configure 2 WAN interfaces with those static IPs. And then you can have two separate LANs passed through, almost like DMZ, pass through everything from those WANs into another two firewalls. You could do it that way, but that kind of defeats the purpose of Pfsense can do it all in one. And again, that might not be exactly what you're asking, but that's kind of how I imagine it. If you're getting two dedicated IPs from your WAN, I would set up everything in Pfsense. But if you don't use Pfsense, I didn't even consider that for a second. You might not even use Pfsense or like Pfsense. But there are other options about handling dual WANs. It's very common in higher, I don't want to say higher, but enterprise systems, and you can do it in Omada and Unify systems as well. So it's certainly something you can do. Maybe I missed it, but what's next in Kubernetes? Secrets management, maybe? Um, Sorry, I again appreciate it so much. Thank you, PCMD, for the super chat. I hope I answered your question. If I didn't and you want to talk about it more, hit me up in the Discord. Link is in the description below. I'd be glad to fill you in or at least provide some insight on it. I do have a video on running a dual WAN setup on my channel. For a while, I was running Spectrum and AT&T into one Pfsense box and handling dual WANs in failover mode. So if that sounds like something that's interesting to you, I have a video on that on my channel. Just search like dual WAN or something. I don't even remember what I named the video. But again, man, appreciate it. Thank you so much. Maybe I missed it. What's next? Next is two things: exploring other, well, I don't want to get to that yet. The next major thing is Ansible, learning Ansible and getting comfortable with it to where I can deploy my cluster and automate some upgrades and whatnot. So that is the next step. In the future, again, just learning as I go, moving over some more services, diving deeper into how the networking actually works. Like, I get the gist of it, but knowing the specifics and the differences and how ingress works versus like ingress routes and how to configure those, that's something I want to get comfortable with, because as of right now, I'm not super comfortable in speaking about that because it's kind of like a black box to me at this point. Storage wise, I'm starting to get the hang of it, but I do want to explore more options other than Longhorn, one being Gluster FS. So that's what's next on the menu. This is my Longhorn node. I don't think we made it through here, but I'm running 3 nodes. Each of them has 4 terabytes of storage, roughly 3.5. You can see each of these has a 2 terabyte. I'll show you because Nextcloud, I have 2 terabytes assigned to a Nextcloud persistent volume. And you can see I have 2 replicas. So that means that 4 terabytes are being used, but I have 3 nodes. So, you know, do the math. If one of these goes down, I still have my 2 terabyte persistent volume on another node in high availability. And then if that goes down, it'll spin it up on this one as well. So I like Longhorn. People say it's slow, so we'll have to see. I don't have much experience with it. Way with me, it's more about the voice of the content creator. I tend to doze off easily. Your video streams have been great. I don't know if you're saying my voice puts you to sleep, but hey, man, I don't have a problem with that, dude. There are certain streamers I watch that I like to put on when I'm tired because it helps me fall asleep. But I personally hate my voice. I hate listening to it. I have to edit it all the time, and it's disgusting. So if you don't mind it, that's awesome. All right, I'm gonna start winding it down here. We're almost 3.5 hours in. My throat is actually starting to hurt. So we're gonna start winding it down here, guys. This has been an awesome stream. again, any stream where I can come in and just talk to you guys about tech stuff is freaking awesome. So I appreciate you guys stopping by. I'm gonna get through these chats rapid fire and then call it a night. So any questions you have, hit me up now before we get going. But yeah, TVJ says, how do you do a live stream for 3 hours plus? I did a 90-minute live stream yesterday and was spent. Yeah, my throat is genuinely starting to hurt. I was kicking around the idea, if I get to 50,000 subs, I'll do a 24-hour stream. But man, 3 hours of talking and my throat's already starting to hurt. Sean says you can do it easily by throwing a layer 2 switch right after the modem and then plug both routers in with their dedicated IPs pre-configured. Yeah, that is another way to do it. I have to do that at my office, works like a champ. Next project is to get a PON to SFP module and get rid of the ISPs. What am I missing here? I missed something. Does not compute. Kudos for keeping it up for this long today. Yeah, man. Like I said, I try to go for around 3 hours every time, and we're a little bit over. So like I said, wrapping it up. I use Unify Edge and Unify UDMP. Okay, so that'll be something I'll look into. I just bought a Dream Machine Pro that I need to install so that I can start actually helping people out that have Unify questions. So that'll get installed soon so I can hopefully answer some questions. Bruce, good night, man. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you so much for joining, becoming a member, buying some merch. You are the freaking man, dude. It's good seeing you around. Hope you can join the Discord and hopefully see you in the next stream, man. Thank you so much for stopping by. Ansible, love it. If you need some help there, yeah, man, I will be. I'm gonna definitely be watching some Jeff Geerling videos. That's the Ansible guy over there. So 100% will be binging his stuff. I made this same mistake, just moved to Pfsense. Should have a long time ago. Yeah, like I said, Pfsense has been great for the last 3-ish years. Take care, keep up the good work. Thanks, Frank. Appreciate you stopping by, my man. 7ick, that's how I'm gonna say it. Thank you for stopping by. I didn't know you did these. Z400 Racer. Yeah, man, I used to do them more consistently once a week. Real life stuff came up. Now it's kind of settled down, so I'm gonna try to start doing streams more consistently now. So yeah, I'm glad you can make it. Hope you can make the next one. Yeah, anybody, like I said, Discord, really friendly people over there, really helpful people over there, really awesome community if you want to join. Link is in the description below. How to solve the Nextcloud running in Docker being locked to 780 megabytes of storage when I have 60 terabytes. Create a volume. It depends. I don't know your storage configuration, but what I normally do is there's so many ways you can do it depending on your storage configuration, but you're going to want to find the mount point to your storage that has 60 terabytes and then pass in the Nextcloud data volume for the container. Use a bind mount to that mount location on your host. So you're saying Nextcloud data in the container, link that to my 60 terabyte mount location on my host, and then you should have all the data you need. But again, it's different depending on how your storage configuration is set up. Thar, thanks for the great stream. Time for some rest. Good night. Yeah, Thar, thanks, man. Thank you for hopping in. I'm sorry you made it so late, man, but good to see you stopping by. I appreciate that. And if you are stopping in late as we wind up here, the entire stream will be on the channel, the entire VOD. If you want to freaking put it on while you go to sleep or while you work tomorrow or whatever, feel free to do it. It's me talking tech, network, Kubernetes stuff with all you nerds, and it's freaking awesome. Oh, getting the GPON module, I guess that's how you say it, to SFP will allow me to just eliminate the other box. I don't know what that is. PON doing. I'm a noob. I know what SFP is, that's for sure. You're doing great, man. Keep it up. Good night. Yeah, thank you so much, Peter. Good seeing you, man. Matt Sargent, I'm out. Another great stream. Good night. Good night, Mr. Matt Sargent. Thank you so much for stopping by, my man. One of the OGs. Docker is running on a bridge. It works fine if I use OnCloud, just not Nextcloud. Yeah, it might just be the container configuration. Like I said, join Discord. We can take a look at your Docker config and see if we can get this figured out. Thanks so much for becoming a member, man. That's awesome. PCMD, thank you. Thank you again. Yeah, again, hit up the Discord. You'll have a fancy badge over there, fancy role. So awesome. Do a video on your live stream setup. I like your overlay. It's just a standard one from OBS Studio or Streamlabs. Smash that like button. Yeah. Oh shit. Okay, guys. I think I got to all of them. That is it for me. I am wrapping it up here. You guys have been awesome. Like always, it has been a great stream. My voice hurts a little bit, but it was worth it. The fact that you guys come in here and hang out with me for 3 hours while I get to talk about all the cool stuff I'm doing, all the cool stuff you guys are working on, and share that. It's just awesome every single time. So that is it. I'm going to try to be more consistent with streams, I promise. Hopefully we'll start doing them once a week because these are really fun. And it's good seeing all you guys and be able to interact with you live. Skyward King, I'm sorry you got here at the end of the stream. I'm sorry, man, but like I said, the entire VOD will be on the channel immediately once I hit stop. You can go over there and check it out. Talk about Kubernetes, networking, all types of cool stuff. So that is it. Thank you all so much. Hopefully see you guys next week or right after this in the Discord. So